an interesting topic, the victim stuff.
Oh my God, it worked. We're live.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry, everyone. I have been trying to go live for a while, and StreamYard was not working. But it's decided now.
Interesting topic, the victim stuff.
Oh my God, it worked. Oh, and there's me in the background. Oh yay, it worked. But I guess no intro. Congratulations, everyone, since everyone waited so long. I'm live. Show. Jessi's gone. I have Aydin here. Aydin Paladin. If you guys do not know who Aydin Paladin is, she's awesome. I discovered her via EFAP, and her channel is a lot about psychology, which is what we were talking about while I was trying to fix this. But hello, Aydin.
Hey, how's it going? I mean, we had a bit of time to talk a little bit pre-show, but how are you doing besides the technical issues, right?
I know, right?
I hate that so much. It's the worst.
It's like no matter how much you prepare, you got everything ready, and then you sit down to do it, and then the computer is like, F you.
It just, without fail, I don't know why that is, but for whatever reason, the universe always decides to align in such a way as to be like, screw you.
Every single time, too. Whenever something important is going to happen, or it's like the first time having a guest on my channel like you, it's like, ha ha ha, you prepared? Guess what? Nothing's going to work. Congratulations. But yeah, I mean, I guess we could like finish that little conversation. So guys, what we were talking about while I was trying to fix this, and then StreamYards decided, hey, we're going to go live mid-conversation, was Aydin did a video about what is the exact title? Let me go pull it up. These like psychology behind being a victim. Guess what? Oh, background noise. Always.
Yeah, the victim stuff. I have to pull it up because I work in very isolated modules of research, so I have to like then access that file in my brain. But the victim head mentality stuff is it's disturbing in the fact that there are certain people who are more prone to be victims or see themselves as victims. Women, in particular, are far more likely to see themselves as victims than men are, and I think that contributes to a lot of what we see today, obviously, and that victims, you know, they aren't just like happy by necessarily fairness, but they want retribution for the things that happen to them. And that can be deleterious or harmful to society, I think. They don't just want to be treated fairly. They want revenge, essentially, for whatever they see as a slight.
And it's the most bizarre thing, but I remember I was watching or listening, because I think I told you, but off air. But I've told my audience, for those of that are new here, also welcome. But I'm an audio learner, so I like to have things playing in the background while I paint or draw, and it helps me to retain that information. But I was listening to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know so many people like this, which is really sad. And I feel like in recent years, it's just skyrocketed how many people are like this now.
Well, there's no real downside to doing it, right? Victims get everything from a socioeconomic perspective, right? There's nothing deleterious or judgmental to being a victim. In fact, you get everything by claiming victim status. You just say, I'm a victim, and then you go make a GoFundMe and raise $20,000 in a day. You know, that's the world we live in now, and there's a clear economic benefit to claiming to be a victim. It doesn't matter what you have done prior, as long as you claim to be a victim, you can profit off of it, which is, disturbing.
Very much. But then it's so bizarre when you see like somebody like Vic Mignogna, who actually was a victim,
right?
And they just want to crucify him more. And it's like, but you have no evidence to these claims that he did something to you, but then you're trying to destroy a man's life on absolutely no evidence.
Oh, the Vic case is a nightmare. And I mean, I've been a cosplayer since 2001, when I first started doing it, when I was 11 years old. So like, how real is that when you're 11? Not real cosplay, but I've been cosplaying for which is 20 years now almost. And I've known Vic Mignogna. I've met him in person. I've been to panels with him. I have not, I don't agree, or at least when I was younger in particular, I didn't agree with him, some of his more Christian sort of stuff. But
Mhm.
what they have done to him is unbelievable. It is a slander and smear campaign on a degree that I can't think of a comparative attempt to just destroy someone's life
I
with full knowledge that he might kill himself, you know?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I didn't know too much about it. I was never really into anime, but that's just because I didn't have access to it. Like, I saw Studio Ghibli stuff, and then, well, Samurai Jack doesn't really count, but kinda. And then,
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z and Avatar: The Last Airbender, like, that is the extent of my anime knowledge. And so I found it because of Nick Rekieta and him playing the
Hmm.
depositions and not knowing anything about it and watching the way that like Vic answered questions compared to like Ron or Monica. It was like, what on earth is going on? And
I mean, I'll be real with you. I kind of trolled Vic once
oh no,
years
what
ago.
happened?
My friend and I knew he had a very okay. I'm like 17, so what I'm about to say, please excuse me a little bit for being a stupid teenager. But what my friend and I did is that we drew a softcore yaoi picture of a bunch of Vic's characters all just kind of like hugging and groping each other a little bit, and we knew he wouldn't like it, and we brought it up to him because we thought, oh, he won't like this, he'll hate this. And he signed it anyway.
Aw.
So, so for all these people who are like, "Oh, Vic is such a homophobe. He's so evil. He's so terrible." Let me tell you, my friend and I, when we were 17, intentionally drew a gay picture that we thought he wouldn't sign of all of the characters he's voice acted, and he signed that picture. So, I mean, as little as it means, let that serve as a bit of a record on who Vic Mignogna is as a man and a person.
Yeah, I've watched those videos of him and like people coming out and saying that, you know, either they're LGBT or they're trans and stuff, and how even though he has a very like religious background, he was still like absolutely kind to him. And I was like, wow. So, you know, because there's some people that, you know, they say never meet your heroes, and then you see these person in a movie or in interviews and they seem so nice, and you meet them in person and they're just, you know, they don't want to give you the time of day. So seeing that, and then even like your story now, it's like he seems like a genuinely nice person. And then I actually met him. He did a signing in Los Angeles, so I live in Southern California, and I went and just to say, hey, like I'm sorry about everything that happened, and you know that sucks. And he was super kind as well. And then I had seen his Star Trek Continues. Have you watched those?
His Star Trek series, yeah, which is great.
Oh, I know. I loved the first one, how they brought back Apollo. I was like, whoa, this is a
He's
great
clearly like a super fan, right? And it really bleeds through in that series that he cares and loves about this property and IP.
Oh, no doubt. And so getting to meet him and like seeing everything that's gone on online and then seeing the person in real life, it's, I don't know, it's just so bizarre. And so even though we say, oh, the stuff that happens on Twitter isn't real, those aren't real people, those are just trolls, and just seeing
Mm.
somebody in real life and it's like, wow, this is a person that is just getting attacked by this insane mob, and it's a real person. And for every one of those tweets, even though it might just be one troll with like 20 alt accounts, that's another person too doing this. And so have you because I haven't, you have a ton of videos and I haven't watched all of them, but have you done one about like the psychology behind getting attacked by the mob? Like
To a degree, more or less. Oh shoot, I have to think about it because I do have a ton of videos on that. In terms of the psychology of being attacked by the mob, um, group psychology is actually kind of my area of research. And when you get attacked by the mob, it's very difficult to find any way to defend yourself because you're not just defending yourself at that point against realistic criticisms. You're defending yourself against mythologizing criticisms. That means that as the hatred that a group, so groups communicate to each other in specific language, right? We say that like, oh, because we are this group, we develop our own memes, our own ways of speaking to each other. And as that language and that development of speech continues to develop and evolve over the course of time of a group communicating, it becomes unquestionable as fact. Anything that is cited no longer needs a reference. It's just mythologized and incorporated to the group lexicon. So I no longer have to say why Vic is a predator if within my group Vic is a predator has become a meme, has become culturally embedded. I don't need to cite it. And therefore, there's no need for reality anymore within the group gestalt and zeitgeist, right? It just has become emboldened and embedded in it.
Yeah. And so with like group psychology, what is it about that struck up your interest, if that's your area of expertise? Like, did something happen to like where you just got interested in that topic and it's like, oh shit, and then you started doing your research on it and built up a platform based on a lot of that kind of stuff?
Oh, sure. I played Final Fantasy XI, and I loved it, the first Final Fantasy online MMO. And I was fascinated at how, at the time when I first started playing it, which would have been like 2002 when I first started playing, I was astonished at the fact that at that point in my life, in real life, I was very, very awkward and shy and socially backward. I had a very hard time making friends or doing anything really with other people in real life. And when I would get online and into Final Fantasy XI, I had so many friends. And I had no real problem making them in that online environment. But what I also found is that I used my character, who was this white mage, and I associated white mages with being shy and not very overt. And my behavior when I mostly mained a white mage versus my behavior when I mostly mained a bard and a paladin as being very different. And there's research on that, which is the player avatar interaction instrument, or PAX, which was invented by Dr. Jamie Banks, and basically describes the fact that people can acclimate to the way that their avatar in an online environment is supposed to be and move their personality basically to align with that. So stuff that I got interested in, I went, oh, this is fascinating. And then I got interested in the ideas of de-individuation, which is like anonymity, because that's something that happens when you are involved in an online game. You're like semi-anonymous or pseudonymous. And so it was really cool to be like, oh, there's this thing called the strangers on a train effect that happens when people are in a pseudonymous or anonymous environment, where they feel capable of telling people stuff they would never tell a friend or family member even, just because there's that anonymous gap and the social norms dissipate under that environment. So that's the real power of anonymity in the positive sense. Obviously, there are negatives, trolling and what we call toxic disinhibition. That's the flip of the coin. But that's what got me interested in it, because I really wanted to understand, like, why was I able to have friends in this online environment when I had such a hard time in real life? And that's all. that's my interest.
Oh my God, we had like I wasn't allowed to play video games really, and we didn't have internet until I was older, but like not being able to make friends and then being able to in a virtual setting, that is like so simpatico with what I had to deal with. Because I don't know, I wouldn't say I'm socially awkward, but I found that I'm not the most approachable person. But I'm just recently, I was talking about this with my boyfriend, and because we were talking about something with the neighbors, and my neighbor's boyfriend was just an absolute dick to me. But story behind that was that he was bitching about my cat, and he didn't know I was in the backyard because my cat's deaf, so he can't hear how loud.
Oh, yeah.
And so he said something about my cat, and then we made awkward eye contact, and he never spoke to me again until we went to this thing. But I was talking to my boyfriend, and I'm like, yeah, I was like, I have like my really good friends. And then aside from that, I don't really like to interact with people in real life, but I have no problem talking to people in an online environment or doing public speaking. And then he's like, well, babe, like, I love you, but you're not the most approachable person. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And so I think this is going to sound so dorky, but the first like virtual thing I ever did was like Sims.
Yeah.
And it was
was it the Sims Online? I forget what it was called.
Yeah, but it was like Sims 2, like back in the day. And I just remember it because my friend my friend showed me Sims, and then they're like, oh yeah, and you can go online as your Sim and meet people. And I was like, that's so bizarre. And then I tried it and I was like, wow, it's like, I don't know, there's something about it that gives you, because you're in this like little avatar and it's not you in real life, it gives you a little bit of that confidence.
Yes.
And you're not as afraid.
Oh, how much research do you want to hear on this? Because it's my area of expertise. So that's like how much I'm going to geek out.
Because it's understanding, because I think the goal in everyone's life is to be happy. And so when you find something that, you know, sparks that happiness, you kind of want to understand it more, so that way you can, you know, obtain it easier. If that makes sense?
Oh, sure. And what benign disinhibition does as a function of psychology is that it gives us this ability to gain serotonin and good feels by not having to be held down by the realities of our physical bodies, right? Of like, I can be whoever I want in a digital space to a degree, you know, in the Sims or whatever. You can make your own, and you can make your own avatar. And there's this whole player avatar interaction instrument that, again, Dr. Banks is responsible for, which shows that there's about 4 different ways that people interact with avatars. Avatar is me, avatar is other, avatar is object, or avatar symbiote, excuse me. And so when we play video games, we tend to see our avatar as one of these 4 typologies. And in a game like The Sims, if you are seeing your avatar as a representation of yourself, that can be really freeing as a way to, or more specifically, maybe an avatar as both self and other, which is avatar as symbiote. And it's with me, but it's somebody else. So it allows you to explore elements of your personality that you might not be comfortable exploring, or don't even believe in, or feel comfortable with, or want to do in your real life. But in the digital environment and space, you can use the avatar as a vessel to experiment with your personality of who am I, and I can get to play around with that in this metaphysical context.
Let me see. People are saying that I'm echoing. I don't know where my headphones are, or else I plugged them in, but is it fixed, everyone? I'll wait for the chat to update. Let's see. Oh no, and totally with because I mean, I've already found, with not necessarily experimenting with an avatar, even though I technically have one right now, even though it's just me, but just the difference between talking to people online and then talking to people in real life. And because, you know, having this channel, and obviously people know who I am, but they don't know everything about me. So being in a way anonymous about some of the things that either I believe in or everyday life kind of stuff, and then just talking to someone without them knowing everything about me and not being there in person, I don't know if it's not necessarily confidence, but it gives me more to work with, as far as not having to be so self-conscious about the things in my everyday life that somebody might, you know, subconsciously take into account, whether it be, you know, me giving my opinion on a movie or on a certain topic, because they don't know everything about me.
Yeah, because it isn't you. It's a simulacrum, right? It's kind of you, but also not you. And that's what the avatar symbiote mindset, or paradigm, or framework, whatever you want to call it, stipulates or describes. But I think that's how most people view their online personalities or online representations of themselves, is that to a degree it's me. And even if you're being very honest, it is me, but maybe it's not exactly who I am in real life. And I think that's typical. Now, there are some people who say that who they are online is a one-to-one representation of who they are in the real world. As the data indicate, that's about 15 to 20% of people. There's also like a 15 to 20% of people who say that who they are online is a completely made up different person. It's not them at all.
Kind of like how Rags is a dog.
Right. And it's not, but not just that the avatar, but that the person they portray on the internet is not them in any way. It's not even what they believe. They're just adopting this paradigm and personality.
Do you find that it's easy to interact with people that do that?
There's easier or more difficult to interact is difficult to say, because without conducting research, none of us can tell who the other person is and what level of avatar interaction they're engaging with in their conversation. Are they being themselves? Are they being literally another person? Are they being an amalgamation of themselves and another person? Or are they being, I don't know, seeing them, what they're doing as a tool to explain or disseminate ideas? They're all possibilities.
The reason I ask is because there's some people like that, for example, like what I immediately think of is somebody like Rian Johnson. And so I see him and I'm like, if there's a picture of a troll in a textbook, you deserve that spot. Because just from the way that he acts, I feel like the things that he says, it's either he knows that he effed up and he's trying to cover it up, but he's so just arrogant that he just puts on this persona. He's like, all right, I'm just going to be the bad guy. And so I feel like even though he's wearing his face, it's not a mask or anything, like that's who he is. But in a way, I feel like he's just taken on this persona of being the bad guy. And it might not necessarily be 100% where he knows that he's doing this on purpose, but on a subconscious level. And so when I see the way he interacts with people on Twitter, at first I was very just angry because of everything. It was, rubbing salt in an open wound. But now the more I watch him, like he retweeted the Ruin Johnson account and saying like he admired the dedication to this. And I'm like, maybe he is a real person. And he just, he's gone too deep into this persona that he just can't back up anymore. So he's just got to keep rolling with it. Or he actually is this person. I'm more inclined to think the first one, because I try to always have a little bit of hope for humanity as compared to it just being that he is just this awful troll of a person.
Well, attention is attention is attention. And if he's one of those people who is just getting a serotonin injection into him by having people respond to his tweets, which I get the idea Rian Johnson probably is, like he just wants to be noticed. And that's why he intentionally does things that he knows people won't like. Then any attention you give him probably gives him that little boost of, be it ego or be it attention or be it endorphins. So that's probably what that is. I don't know. I can't speak precisely for somebody, but that's an educated guess.
Yeah, and I mean that's all this is on my end. I'm just speculating and picking your brain about it because I really like your channel and your content. And I mean, I'm not a psychology expert. Well, I'm not a psychology expert, but it's like I'm interested in it. And so hearing somebody that, I mean, you were a professor of it. So, I mean, you are an expert in a sense. And so I'm just like picking your brain about it because in the nicest way possible, people don't want to have these conversations with me in real life. Like, Anna, it's a movie, get over it. Anna, yeah, he made a bad movie. And I'm like, no, but let's talk about it. And it's like,
no. Oh, there is an entire field of research on this. It's called media psychology. It is not the largest field of research. It's my primary area, but it exists, and we have major prominent scholars in social psychology, communication, sociology, who all consider themselves media psychologists. So it's not just this isolated weirdness. It is absolutely present in academia.
Well, so I was, as far as like, I mean, I didn't really have like an online presence until my channel kind of blew up, and I just used it just to communicate with friends and family on like Facebook and stuff, or posting my art on Instagram, and then, business tools like LinkedIn and ArtStation and stuff like that. But everything that I was interested in psychology before this all stemmed because I read the book Silence of the Lambs and I just became fascinated. But then with media psychology and this whole online thing, because the YouTube thing happened on accident and I just kind of got thrown into this world, and I didn't, the first time I got attacked by the Twitter mob, I was like, what the hell is going on? Because somebody on Instagram, this artist, which I really liked and I'd followed for years, posted Raylo art. And so it was like Rey and Kylo, and it had the ages next to them, and they were 13 and like 15, and then the next picture was them naked, like embracing.
Alarm starts to go off on that one. Excuse me,
Yeah.
it's a little bit disconcerting.
Well, so I took like a screen recording and I posted it on Twitter, and I said, I really like this artist, but this is disturbing. And I think I like hashtag like something about Reylo, and all of a sudden the next day my Twitter had exploded, and somebody had, I guess, sent it to the artist, and she was like, "You stole my artwork." And I'm like, how did I steal it? And so it just became like 3 days of a living hell where the mob was just, she stole this artwork, she's, just bullying. And I'm like, no. And, I have a degree in art. This isn't bullying. This isn't stealing. I did a screen recording. It has the artist's name in it. I said I was a fan of this artist, and I said I found it disturbing. That's not bullying. That is my, a picture's worth 1,000 words. That is the first word that came to my mind when I saw this. That's in no way bullying. And I didn't even go out of my way to go find the artist. And it was just, I'd never had that happen before. And so it was just this overwhelming, because I was like, what on earth is this? And that was my first, I hadn't even been aware of this whole Twitter mob thing. And so that moment, I'm like, I never want to feel like I'm getting overwhelmed by these psychos again. And so I've just, put on a thick skin and just been trying to learn and understand it, because it just blows my mind that people are presented with actual facts and they don't care. And then they just either block you or just try to continuously spew this false narrative. Because it's like a normal person, the second they find out that they're wrong and like, here's the facts to prove that you're wrong, why on earth would you continuously, knowing that you're wrong, continue with that? Like, wouldn't you stop there and reassess? Like in my mind, like that's what normal people do, right?
No, it's not actually what normal people do. You're actually in the extreme minority of being someone who would reassess your beliefs.
See, and that's what blows my mind.
Yeah. Cognitive dissonance presupposes, and the research that support it shows evidence for this, that for the most part, we have there's something called social judgment theory, which shows that we have certain ideas that will fall within our latitude of acceptance or latitude of rejection. If something falls outside of our latitude of acceptance and into our latitude of rejection, and this is a kind of like line on a graph that can move in all kinds of directions over time, and all sorts of different personological variables as to why it would move and change. In terms of the cognitive dissonance aspect, though, it does mean that sometimes I could like a person and I like what they say, but something about them didn't align with other politics that I've also aligned myself with. And when we have these two things that come into contrast with one another, it creates a psychologically uncomfortable state. And therefore, something need be reconciled within this state to avoid feeling shitty. That's all it really is. So generally speaking, people will throw you under the bus, will say terrible crap about you, will do whatever they can in order to reconcile their own cognitive dissonance and feel better about themselves. Because I'm number one, in terms of psychology. Me, the person, is the most important factor, obviously, in the psychology. So it doesn't matter if I screw somebody over. It doesn't matter if I actually actively try to ruin their life, as long as it makes me feel better about keeping my ideals and things that I believe in consistent ideologically.
It's so true, but it just blows my mind, because my way of thinking is, if anyone has ever, felt this way, or if you've ever hit rock bottom, you know exactly what that feels like, and you never want to feel that again, nor would you, my thinking, a normal person, like no normal person would ever want somebody else to feel that as well. So
no, I sure don't, but I don't know. Some people, there is a dopaminergic response to be gained by it in seeing other people fall, because it gets them it gets them hard, you know what I mean, like psychologically, and in terms of their emotional response, it's like, oh, I love to see somebody else fall down. There's a psychological response there, and I think that's what cancel culture is. There's some great books on mea culpas and the psychological process of the public apology. And what it is that people like to see others degrade themselves in front of a group because it makes them all feel really nice. And I think that's what a lot of the social media stuff is. It's about, I want to see people degrade themselves in front of me because it makes me feel better and me feel elevated socially.
There's a healthy way to do that with like comedians, that their entire thing is like self-deprecation. But at the end of the day, everyone knows that, oh, that's a comedian and that's obviously a joke. Whereas this stuff, like, oh, even right now, like we were talking about with Chris Pratt, and just everyone wants him to apologize. And it's like, well, you know, people like me and you were like, what does he have to apologize for? What did he do? And
oh no, he loves his wife and God. I'm so sorry. Right?
He does some things on Instagram where he eats food and he's like, this is my snack for the day. It's like, okay. I'm the pickiest eater in the world. I don't eat vegetables, and he's eating vegetables. I'm not offended because he's eating vegetables. So just like, everyone feels like they're owed an apology. It's like, well, what? First off, what did you do to deserve the apology? And second off, what the fuck did this person do to owe you said apology? Who are you? You're some random person on the internet that follows them and feels entitled to this person's time and attention.
Right.
When you're not. Well, like, I don't understand people nowadays. I just don't.
I think that's a very common thing too, though, is that what social media has done is made it so that everybody feels as if they have these parasocial relationships with media figures in their life. And parasocial relationships is something I've covered a lot. But what a parasocial relationship is the idea that a media figure, and they can be real or not real, doesn't matter, that you feel as if, due to your interactions with them in a mediated environment, and that can be, I watched a movie or I read a tweet, they're not really indistinguishable. That I have a relationship with this person because I read a tweet from them, I followed them on Twitter, or I watched a movie with them and I got an idea of who they were from a freaking movie. It doesn't really matter. Our brains are not really that advanced in that we're still kind of apes cognitively. So we don't have this real ability to understand and differentiate the difference between media and things we see on the screen and things that we experience socially. Don't get this twisted in that people 100% understand the difference between committing violence in media and committing violence in real life. But the social aspects are a little bit more intangible, right? In that it's hard to tell when you know someone on the internet versus when you know somebody in real life. And in fact, there's specific research that shows that via the parasocial research and specifically the individuation research, that people can come to form hyper intense relationships with people that they know online much faster than they could in person. So people in the audience, I don't know if you've experienced this, Anna, but have you ever had the experience where you know somebody on the internet and you get this idea that you know them really fast because you talk so much. You talk all the time and you feel like you know them really well, even though you've never met them. I've had that experience playing MMOs, so I don't know.
Oh, no, 100%. I mean, some of my best friends online, I've never even met in person, but maybe it's a little bit different because in this environment, like my channel started off because I was talking about Star Wars. So everyone that clicks on the video obviously is interested in Star Wars, or it accidentally came up in their queue. But, you know, it's in their Google history if it popped up in their queue anyway. So everyone that I talked to had that interest. Whereas in real life, it's like, I don't know, I have to bribe people to watch Star Wars with me in my entire life. Nobody wants to do it. And I'm just like, but aside from my dad. You know, that's my dad. So I don't know. It seemed instantaneous when I started talking to people and meeting people in this online environment and interacting with people. And I've never made friends so fast or so easily as it happened, you know, once my YouTube channel started, as compared to, you know, I mean, yeah, in real life, I guess like the people that I talk to on a daily basis are, like, you know, still either my friends from high school or I knew them because we grew up in the same town. But as far as, you know, the things that I'm passionate about, me and my best friend couldn't be different. We have like the common denominator, which is sports, and I converted her. I made her watch Star Trek, and she got addicted. So I got one, but none of my friends care about art. They're like, oh yay, Anna, you drew a picture. And I'm like, no, it's a painting, but yeah, I guess I drew a picture, you know, ha ha ha. As compared to, you know, somebody that, for example, are you familiar with Geeks and Gamers?
Yeah. Oh, I love Geeks and Gamers content. Yeah.
So somebody commented on one of my very first videos and like, you need to go check out Geeks and Gamers and talk to Jeremy. And so I, you know, got in contact, and then it was weird because it was the first online person that I had met. And so we had like a phone call, and I'm just like, I didn't know the way that the internet worked or any of that. And so I was like, all right, because, you know, does this person even really like Star Wars? Because I cannot tell you how many times in real life someone's like, oh yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And then I'm like, I start talking about it, and their eyes glaze over because they have no idea what I'm talking about. And I'm like, you don't know what Bespin is. Like, you're a Star Wars fan. And I got it. Oh, it broke my mind. This one person, everyone was like, oh, Anna, you got to meet this chick. She loves Star Wars. And then she was wearing a Han Solo, like Millennium Falcon necklace. And it was like Han Solo's like dog tags. And I made like a Han shot first, like joke. And she didn't get it. And so when I was talking to Jeremy for the first time, I'm like, I don't even know, like, is this just an online persona? Does this person like actually know anything about Star Wars? And so he was asking me questions, and then when he finished, I'm like, all right, now it's my turn to grill you. And then, you know, we had a conversation, and I was like, oh my God, somebody that actually knows what they're talking about, that I can actually have, you know, a back and forth that's like not, you know, more than like 3 sentences back and forth. And then after that, I started meeting other people like Jessi, and then, you know, Cecil and Ethan and Jeff, and just so many people. I'm like, wow, it's all these people that like all the things that I do, that, you know, kind of agree with, because there's nobody you're ever going to agree with 100% on everything. Of course. We all kind of are similar minded. We all like the same stuff. And I was like, wow, I found my people. It's great. And as compared to people in real life where it's like, you know, nails against the chalkboard trying to get people to listen to me talk about Star Wars for like 1 minute.
No, I that's what I love about the internet, and what I've always loved about conventions is that when you go to a convention, you are delved into this world where everybody kind of gets you, you know, and it is a completely different, as a nerd, as a weirdo, as a social outcast, whatever you want to call funnily enough, not how it's considered nowadays, I suppose, because every major nerdy franchise has been reinvigorated or reimagined as some mainstream stuff. And I mean, Star Wars was always, and Star Trek have both always been fairly mainstream, but the nerdo weirdos who went to conventions for it were always a bit fringe. And the great thing about going to those conventions, though, have you ever seen Trekkies, the documentary 1 and 2?
I think so.
Oh, they're fantastic documentaries.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I would watch them maybe every other year or so because I love them. And there's some really important lines that I think happen in those documentaries that express the importance of what a community means and why it's important. And that is because we can be people who don't look alike, we don't speak even the same language, but we all have this common communal love of a thing that we enjoy, and this can bring us together. And I think that that's actually something that is lacking in Star Wars and Star Trek now. It's only certain people with a certain background would find this stuff attractive because it fits their political interests. Meanwhile, the attractiveness of Star Wars as an idea, as the Joseph Campbellian hero's journey, is literally universal by definition. And Star Trek is also a fairly universal attraction and enjoyable series, no matter if it's TOS or TNG or Deep Space Nine or Voyager or even Enterprise. To a lesser degree on Enterprise. I'll say that because I'm a fan.
I just recently rewatched Enterprise while I was doing Inktober, and I I can see where some of like the dislike for it comes from, but I always really liked it.
I think that I like Archer. I like Archer, and I don't like T'Pol. As someone
You don't like
speaks, as someone who speaks a little Vulcan, I don't like a character who's Vulcan and not logical. It hurts a little bit. So
yeah, I think that they were just trying to experiment with her character. And there are instances where it does work and times where it's very painful.
She's great, and that's the problem with T'Pol, is that she's so good and compelling in some scenes, and then they screw it up so just horribly in others.
Like, oh my god, I remember people saying, "Oh yeah, well, because I mean, Star Trek has always done political topics, but they do it in a way like with racism, but with aliens. Oh, I'm white on the right side, and he's white on the left side.
The other side, yeah.
But it's about racism, but it's with aliens, and it's humans, and the Federation. They've already surpassed that, so it's them trying to solve this problem. And I was like, oh, I love that. That they live in this ideological universe, and they interact with these kind of problems, but they're just trying to help because they've already been able to evolve past that. And so, do you remember the episode in Enterprise where T'Pol has the mind meld aids?
Oh no, I hate it so much. Oh, I hate it. I kind of love it.
I'm like, oh my god, I forgot how bad this episode was.
I kind of love how bad of an idea it is, in a way, of just being like, oh wow, that's terrible. You really had a bad idea. We're talking on Voyager levels of, oh shoot, what's the worst episode of Voyager? The episode where Tom Paris and Janeway become lizard monsters and fuck each other. Like, that's the worst.
Oh my god.
Threshold, thank you.
Burn out of my memory.
Sorry, no one actually gave me that name. I just remembered it because my mind can't erase it. But it's Threshold tier, so yeah. But there was an attempt, I guess,
Well, so I love the fact, though, that they fixed it in season 4, like with a throwaway line where they go to those Vulcans that are pacifists because for whatever reason, the Vulcan High Command decided to become psychotic. Right. But then they introduced the Romulans into it. So I was like, all right, even though, they haven't, whatever, that's not technically where the Romulans were at that point, but whatever. And then the one leader of like what are they called? Oh my God, I just watched it too. I don't know, the one group that's hiding in the Vulcan desert, and she just explains it to Paul. She's like, that just means that the person that gave you this mind meld aids, they're not practiced enough in mind meld, so it's a chemical imbalance. Let me just fix it for you. And I was like, I love that they just fixed it because somebody fucked it up in season 2. So the person in season 4 writing the episode was like, stupid idiot, let me fix it for you real fast because this did not exist, and all Vulcans can mind meld. Not a minority.
Maybe try to have some consistency with your world. And what I really, really dislike about the new Star Trek movies, and then what I've seen of Discovery and what I've seen of Picard, is that so I guess I should be honest about this. I was a member of a Star Trek forum from about 2001 till 2008. So I was a very active member. I got my special little icon that showed I had posted like 50,000 times or whatever it was. I don't remember. I specifically wanted my Vulcan class ship, and I said, do not change it when I get more posts than this, because this is the ship I want in my icon. So I'm talking about like a really serious forum member. And I hated Star Trek 2008. Or 7, I forget. I hated it.
No, isn't it 2009?
2009. The year that JJ Trek, I hated it.
Oh my god.
I really hated it. I found it to be antithetical to what I thought Star Trek was supposed to be, in terms of the characters were all hyper emotional, including Spock, and I found that awful and just really, really and Spock is horny in it.
I know. Oh, it's so painful. It's like, JJ, did you not watch Star Trek. Like, I mean, I've been rewatching it. My friend Drunk 3PO, he'd never seen it, so we do a watch party every week where we watch 2 episodes, and we're about to finish season 1. And it's like every time a girl's interested in Spock, unless he's infected with spores, he doesn't give them the time of day.
Or he's going through the pond far.
Yep.
And, like, that's the only times that this happens. But for whatever reason, now I will say, as a really big fan of the original series, there was some interesting dynamic that happened in not Amok Time, but in the Naked Now, which was I forget which was the TNG episode, which one was the TOS episode now, but whatever. The Naked Time, I think that's it, right? And where Spock has some weird sexual tension with Ensign Chapel or Nurse Chapel.
Oh yeah, because she's in love with him.
Yeah, she's totally in love with him, and he just can't see it. And that's great in the original series of her being like, oh, she loves him, and she has this huge crush on him, and she wants to be with him so much, and he's just way too
engaged.
Yeah, but he's just involved in his Vulcan science stuff, and he can't figure it out. He doesn't understand it. And in the Naked Time, there's a little bit of bringing that up, and also during Amok Time, which is what is it? Amok?
Yeah, it's Amok Time, and that's when he's going through the pond far. So
right. But Nurse Chapel has a few good scenes in that. He throws his dinner at her. His Plomeek soup at her.
And then he's like, can you make it again for me?
So good.
Nice, because he realizes he kind of hurt her feelings.
But so good because Chapel, he knows that she's like in love with him. Mm-hmm. And she's trying to make him soup to make him feel better. And really good tiny things in a series from 1969. That is what I think is what's missing, astonishingly, from modern television shows, is like little things that show character development that don't need to be shoved down your throat. Just be like, oh, I understood what was happening there. You didn't need to tell me, you know?
Yeah.
I understood her that she has a crush on him or whatever, and I like that without you needing to tell me that was what's going on.
Well, I feel like the art of subtlety is just lost now, especially with JJ, because just watching shows where, CG and special effects didn't really exist. Your special effect is that you have a fog machine that was created with dry ice, or you shake the camera to, show that your ship is getting shot at by Klingons. And you have, a little model that you hang on strings behind, just a black board that has holes drilled through it so it emulates stars. And, so you have to build everything based on the story and the fact that you have good actors that can do those subtle things like little eye contact or just, gazing at someone or something. And so it gives that emotion when you're watching it. And as compared to just JJ, where it's like lens flare, special effects, blowing up, fight scenes,
right?
Where none of it makes any sense. Like, okay, Romulans, they are ruthless. They will stop at nothing. They're xenophobic to the extent, or they do not. Your life is meaningless to them if you are not a Romulan, or if you do not have information that's critical to them obtaining their goal. So why on earth would Romulans that went through a wormhole into the past, or black hole into the past, this Romulan Nero knows, he loves his wife, he loves his unborn child. So knowing that he's all these years back into the past before the supernova, why on earth would he sit there waiting for a ship that he's going to, know is there immediately once it arrives into the past? Why wouldn't he go to Romulus, warn them, show them, hey, here's all of this, technological advanced stuff. Here's all of this information. Everything in the sector that is in my history books, I can give to you so we can take over the galaxy, or at least these 2 quadrants of the galaxy, the beta and the alpha quadrant. Also, because I'm so far in the future, guess what? There's going to be a wormhole to the gamma quadrant over by Beta Z, or no, not Beta Z, but Bajor. Why wouldn't he go, no, this is what any, Romulan would do, and go tell them and, try to become some kind of leader or gain some kind of advancement based on that information, not sitting there for 25 years waiting for Spock to come through the black hole.
And incomprehensible unbelievable, irreconcilable piece of nonsense, right? Like, I am willing to accept a lot of silliness in Star Trek if it's for the good of the story. If it elevates or enhances whatever message the story is trying to confer in an episode of Star Trek, I'm willing to accept some dumb stuff. I mean, particularly in the original series. I mean, come on, like, there's really dumb stuff in the original series, but because it's telling a moral message or a theosophical message, I'm kind of okay with some of it. And Next Gen is not that much better in many episodes, but much better than generally the original series, but which is 60s incarnate. But it's a clear philosophical or moral story being told by this. And that's why dumb stuff happens in Star Trek. Dumb stuff doesn't happen in Star Trek so that we can have big space fights. You know? At least that's never been the case, is to have some excuse to have a big space fight.
It's always to avoid the big space fight.
Right. Dumb stuff has always happened to be explaining of like, what do you think about this philosophical conundrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ask the audience to think about this stuff for themselves. That's the difference between what I believe Star Trek truly should be, between, you know, original series, Next Gen, Voyager, DS9, is that it gives the audience a philosophical question. It gives them maybe a place to go towards with it. You know, like maybe don't vote for the Nazis, you know? But
maybe don't go back or go to this alien planet and teach them about the Nazis and, you know, make their culture about
maybe not the best idea. But you have to think about why that would be the case. And you as the viewer are put into this situation of having to think. And I believe that that's what is fundamentally at odds with modern media, is that what Star Trek, and by the way, not just Star Trek, but classic Doctor Who, as well as a lot of old sci-fi series did, was they just gave you a philosophical and metaphysical or moral conundrum, and they just gave it to you under the guise of a sci-fi story, and it was up to you as the viewer or listener to figure out how you felt about it. I mean, yes, did they have a way they were pushing you? Of course, but you're supposed to think about it with your brain box, and I don't think we're allowed to, as consumers of media anymore, to think about things with our brain boxes. It's just consume media and get excited for next media.
Yep, that's exactly what it is now. And it's like their whole idea, I know you didn't watch Picard, but
I watched Red Letter Media's review of it, and I think I'm good.
Oh yeah, you do. Well,
no thanks.
Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of Red Letter Media. I tried watching a few of their videos, and I think it's just because they've been doing this for so long that it's like they already have their personalities. And so if it's your first, at least for me, when it was my first time watching one of their videos, I just didn't get it. And so maybe if I go back and watch their older stuff, I would like it. But it was kind of insufferable. And maybe I don't know them. I don't know their humor. But then I watched for the first time, because I've never seen any of the other Plinkett reviews, but I watched the Plinkett review of Picard. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, but you missed this. You missed this. So that video could have been, I don't know, 4
I agree.
hours longer.
Actually, the Plinkett review of Picard could have been more scathing. Really quickly, I have to run to the bathroom.
Oh, no problem.
There are super chats, so this is a perfect opportunity.
Yeah,
right? I'll be right back in 1 second.
Go ahead. I will read some super chats. All right, let me pull these up. And sorry, guys, I haven't gotten to super chats. It's my first time talking one-on-one with Aydin. I watched her on EFAP, and I didn't know who she was. And then she started talking about Star Trek, and because I already liked her as a guest on EFAP, and I was like, oh, this she's cool, because there's been some. I think I had just watched one of the EFAP debates, and I was like, oh my god, this is just. Because there's some EFAPs where it's just painful to watch at times, because either the videos are so absolutely moronic, or the guests just aren't that great in the nicest way possible. And then I remember it was like around Thanksgiving last year, and then Aydin started talking about Star Trek, and she was like, oh yeah, like this is the way that they film the Vulcan language. I was like, oh my God, like we could totally be best friends. And so I decided, Jessi and I were talking because it is Jeff's birthday today, everyone. Jeff from World Class Bullshitters, go wish him a happy birthday on Twitter or Facebook. But it's his birthday today, and so Jessi asked if we could switch weeks because I'm going to be out of town next week for my birthday. And so I was like, ooh, yay, I'll see if Aydin is available, and I'll have a little conversation with Aydin and pick her brain about things. Because we were on actually an EFAP, which is the first time I like quote unquote met her, but I had strep throat and I spent a majority of the EFAP laying on the floor of my office with a microphone next to me and muted for the entire EFAP basically, while I'm just like coughing and listening to them like in and out of sleep because I was dying. But yeah, let me get these super chats up. Sorry it took so long to get to them. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you everyone. This is a lot. Jandon Patterson, thank you for super chat. Guess what day it is? Happy hump day, ladies, and everyone in the stream. Well, thank you very much. Dumatron, thank you for the super chat. Make sure you sign up for Anna's new art channel. Oh, yes, thank you. Go do so. I have been doing Inktober, which after this year, next year, I'll be calling it Orktober because I just love to draw orcs as people are learning. And so, yeah, it has cut into, well, I don't sleep very much, but the little sleep that I do get, it's been cut into by me drawing orcs and then both of my cats wanting to sit there and watch and then swat at my pins while I'm drawing said orcs. And it's been fun. Having a daily video come out where I'm doing a drawing and the drawing takes, a few hours, then you got to edit it. And then it comes out to like a 3-minute video. And it's like, wow, okay, this is happening. I'm doing it. But it's kind of satisfying knowing that you're getting this big art project done on top of work, on top of YouTube, on top of life and holidays and planning birthdays. And the world is in a lockdown pandemic. And having a little minion in the house because it is our 2 weeks with her now. And so she's coming up. She's like, why are you drawing this? Why are you drawing the orc? Why are you using that color? You should use this color, as I'm in the process of putting down marker to paper. So it's been fun. But yeah, if you guys, everyone that's been watching them, I really appreciate it. And it's fun. And it's cool seeing everyone's reactions to it. Because I know orcs aren't typically like the main attraction in WoW. I feel like most people usually like elves and stuff. But I was doing a project for something related to Blizzard, cough, cough. And I started drawing, I drew like a few elves, and then I did a fem orc because I was looking, my person at the time was like, oh, here's like the Blizzard art books, go look through it and then draw something related to it, but not, which was very cryptic because I can't give too much information about it. But I was scrolling through the Art of Blizzard, and it's one of the older art book. It doesn't have obviously any of their new stuff in it or new stuff when I was doing this project. But I saw there was like one page and there was like a female orc and she was fighting something in the snow, and it said like below it, because it'll always tell you in an art book, this is the person that did it and this is the medium that they did it in and sometimes the year. And it said, this is the artist, this is the name of the piece. Also, it's like one of the few pieces we have of female orcs. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So that means that they don't have a lot of it. So I'm going to try to go fill that gap. Because, you can go look at freaking every single elf and every type of elf and every color and, every time of day, every type of scenario, fighting, cooking, what name you. And so there was just nothing of orcs. So I did this entire project of female orcs. And I was like, wow, I really dig this. I'm really enjoying it. And I found that the things that I'm not particularly interested in either, watching movies or I don't know how to put this, but the things I'm not usually typically interested in, I enjoy so much more when I'm doing an art project on them. Like I cannot stand movies about gangsters or mobs or any of that stuff. When you give me a mobster project, I am all over it. So maybe it's because I don't have that. I I don't know, either relatability or care for it in real life when I'm doing it, because I have no preconceptions of what I like about it. It's so much more freeing to work on a project of it. And so the long answer to that one sentence super chat, but thank you. I'm really glad you're liking it, and I like to draw orcs. And Aydin is back.
Yeah, real quick. How do you feel about the undead? Because I also feel like they get such a lack of love, particularly for female undead in terms of art. So that's just my follow up to that question.
I haven't done too much about it. Let me go look at Are you talking about WoW or just
WoW female undead? I figured it was WoW for the orc stuff.
So, spoiler about me. So I was never allowed to play WoW. I've watched people play it, but so my mom was very much like, she wanted me to be her little blonde cheerleader, and I came out brown and hairy like a monkey.
Oh no! No!
Not coordinated at all.
No,
so,
that's.
She got the little blonde cheerleader with my sister, so all those boxes checked. But I'm like the weird one. And so she's like, Anna, you're weird enough already. She can deal with like movies, and I played with action figures, which were kind of like Barbie dolls. So, and I am pretty girly now, but she just wanted me to not be as weird as I was. And so it was like no video games. She allowed Sims because my friend pitched it to her as if it was online Barbies or like virtual Barbies.
Jesus.
And so my mom's pretty quirky, but we're good now. There's stuff that she did in my childhood that I don't think I'll never do that to another person, but it is what it is. But so when I love fantasy. And so I always loved the art for it. I just loved when we were at like Walmart and looking at the boxes for the video games, and I just loved looking at it. So,
I love doing that too. Just looking at video game covers.
I love it, and I love I have the books for it, so it's I know kind of the story that goes on in the universe, and I'm not good at video games at all since I wasn't allowed to play them. So I'm fascinated by it. I don't know everything about it. And
here's the unfortunate thing. When I heard orcs, in my warped brain, despite the fact that before this conversation, as I told you, I got out of a TTRPG, I assumed you were talking about WoW, because that's what people talk about when they talk about orcs, and not TTRPGs. So just like, oh, we're talking about WoW now? Sorry, that's my horrible messed up brain.
No, I was talking about WoW. So
okay.
No, so I'll give a little bit of my background if you don't know. I went to college for art, so I got a degree in, ironically, it says science on my degree, which do not ask, aside from basic science stuff that I learned from Star Trek, do not ask me about science. But I went to college and I got a degree in like concept art, which for animated movies and television and video games, and I guess live action too, because I can do that stuff as well. But so I do, to not dox my professional career, but the way it kind of works is when you do freelance is you know people that work for certain companies or from an outsourced company, and then they contact you with work for said company. So that way, for those that don't know, if you're ever trying to get, like, let's say, for example, right now, Blizzard. Okay, so if you are an employee of Blizzard, they have to give you benefits, health insurance, all of that. So they don't hire a lot. And if they do, they hire you for a little bit, then you get laid off. And so when you're a freelance artist, you don't have any of those benefits, but you get a ton of work because they pay you project by project. Mm-hmm. And so I learned that I don't like working for people that I don't respect. And after a few jobs and not respecting my superiors because they either were, in the nicest way possible, total cunts. And when you work with artists, there is so much ego, and I just like working for somebody that they have a creative mind, but they don't have the creative ability. So they just say, Anna, I want you to draw this, this, and this. This is the color scheme. This is the time of day. This is what they want. And I just do it. I send it in. They say, okay, I like this, this, and this. Can you change this, this, and this? Totally professional. When you go into an office and you work with people, it is, sometimes it's good. Other times it's absolute hell. And so I got I discovered the path of freelance artistry is my desired path, and so that's what I have been doing, and it's great. It's so much less stressful. The only thing about it is that you have to work on your own schedule, and working from home can sometimes be a pain because it's like, oh, but the couch is right there, But so I cough, something came up, and cough, I got a job presented to me, and it happened to be cough for something, and I did it, and cough, it was great, and but it had to do with that particular thing. And I found out that I love orcs. And did you like the Blizzard movie, the Warcraft movie?
I did not watch that because it looked like something I wouldn't enjoy. So
it wasn't the best, but I'm a huge David Bowie fan, and so since Duncan did it, and it's like Duncan's like passion project, I knew that like David watched it, and he loves his son, so he's gonna love anything his son does. So I was like, okay, I'll go support Duncan and support David Bowie's son.
To be fair, I also kind of forgot it actually came out. Because forever it kind of seemed like a meme. And I was like, oh, they're making a Warcraft movie? Ugh, whatever. And it came out, I don't know how I missed it, but I just did. It just fell under my radar. And I don't know. It just fell through my...
The casting was terrible.
Yeah. Seemed like it, at least.
There was... I think visually it was cool to see some things. Because, I mean, luckily, even though I haven't played WoW, they have, like, the cinematics. And so you can watch those on YouTube. So I've gotten a lot of the story from that. But then watching the movie, if you don't know anything about it or like about WoW at all, like my mom had no idea what was going on. And my mom, as much as she doesn't like me being weird, she loves fantasy stuff. So she was like, what's going on? What's this? Who's that? That's the bad guy. And I'm like, yes, Mom. It's very obvious that is the bad guy.
Yeah. Oh, I know this feeling. Oh, geez.
So I liked being able to see certain things, and this was after I had done my orc project, so I was like, oh, yay, there's the orcs, and I was so excited. But I'm looking at the undead right now. Ironically, you know what's funny is I've seen their banner, their little coat of arms thing. Mm-hmm. You're right. I haven't seen very many of them. But funny, I typed in WoW undead, and it's all like females. I had to like specifically type in male.
Interesting. I mean, they're skelly boys and girls, so it's kind of difficult to differentiate. But the only character I ever played in WoW was I played a Tauren for a while, but I mostly played an undead, and I was not a big WoW person. I played FF11 for 10 years. And that was my game, my MMO. But I actually played in WoW. The reason I was playing it was part of a study. So, well, of course it was, right? I was playing it to acclimate myself because I needed to speak to WoW players when I was interviewing them. And I needed to acclimate myself to the game to be able to speak with them in a way that they would find realistic and not feel afraid of talking to me as a researcher, right? That was why I had to play WoW. Which at first I was against because I played FF11 for 10 years plus, and the problem is that FF11 kind of got destroyed by WoW as a game. So there was a bunch of internal hatred towards the game in that community. But when it came time to do research, of course, I was like, no. And I came to really enjoy WoW after playing it for 6-7 months, which was originally legally prescribed to me by my professors, and I came to like it a lot.
How did you do on the study?
I mean, like, how did the study turn out?
Were you able to communicate with the WoW players?
Yeah, what was really interesting is it was at the time where we were trying to understand, they had just implemented that selfie feature, but we also wanted to know like how they interacted with their avatars and how they felt about their avatars. And it was a really big deal for us as researchers to embed ourselves into the community because there's a really big fear sometimes with people who take tests or studies online that they think that you hate them and you're intentionally trying to study a group that you hate. And let's be real, they're not incorrect for thinking that way, right? Political tests all the time, political polls or whatever, are often people who actively hate the people they're trying to study. That's not good. That's not good at all. But that's the way that it is in politics. However, for us as trying to be good social scientists, is that I have to integrate myself and to understand the game, to understand the community, to understand the way that the game functions socially before I can ask them, like, how do you feel about it? Because otherwise, how could I or anyone else understand what your responses are? And that's, in my opinion, good science. But, whatever. I guess it's up for debate. I think you should embed yourself in the community so you can help understand what people are saying with context and not just pure raw data, not just pure statistics.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, never judge a person until you've walked a day in their shoes. And so, I don't know, I've never done a poll or any kind of study. Well, I've never been involved in one, like, online or whether it in person. The second a stranger comes up to me and is like, oh, do you want to do this? I'm like, no, I don't want to give you any information about myself. Stay away from me.
Right. Be careful, because you never know when someone's going to put it into their dumb study. Trust me, you never know.
I had somebody email me. It was a while. I think it had to do with, like, Brie Larson when all that mumbo jumbo was happening. And they're like, oh, hey, I want to interview you for this thing because you're a woman that's against change. And I was like, what?
What? Nothing comes of that.
How do you get from me doing a video where Brie Larson did an interview or did some kind of award thing where she said, oh, this movie, like, white men, this wasn't made for you. I'm like, you do understand A Wrinkle in Time is it's for children. Well, I mean, it's a family movie, so you can watch it at any age and enjoy it. But I'm like, Chris Pine is the father. He's a white dude now he's in his 40s, but it's about a biracial girl looking for her white father. There's plenty of, like, David Bowie, for example. He's, white, his wife was black, and his daughter is biracial. So if he were to take his daughter to that movie, does that mean his opinion is irrelevant, even though it's a movie about a little girl trying to find her father? And even in that sense, it's like, well, also, what about, a white dad taking his kids to go see this movie that is about, a biracial family? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with the white guy having an opinion on that? Could you imagine if she came out and said, oh, this movie wasn't made for, like, Asian men because there's no Asians in this movie?
I'm shocked she didn't, to be honest.
Well, it's like,
I'm honestly shocked she didn't.
Well, so that was my video. That was about that this person wanted to email me and, like, wanted to do an interview with me. And I'm just like, and it was for some kind of study for her college. And I'm like, how do you get me saying that that's ridiculous? And, exactly she knows exactly what it was that she was doing. How does that equal me being against change? I don't understand.
I mean, I can't, obviously, it's metaphysically absurd for me to get inside of this person's head. But my guess is they wanted to try to frame you as part of the evil alt-right that hates Star Wars progressivism. Okay. Which is what? Oh my goodness. We could talk about this for just a half second. I don't know how much you have to say about it. But how silly is it that people have come out against Mahler and everyone involved in that sort of side of critiquing modern Star Wars films is that we all must be politically aligned. I don't know your politics, and I don't. You might know mine, but doesn't really. I'm a libertarian. Doesn't matter. I don't think we align politically, as I don't think I align with Rags and Mahler and whoever.
Well, Mahler isn't
just because we all don't like a movie. We just don't like a movie.
Why does that's okay? So I've never talked about, like, who I vote for or my political beliefs. The most I say is, like, stay out of my life and I'll stay out of yours. I just, to be completely honest, I'm not interested in it. Like, right. Out of all of the topics, I could go, and if I got, to do something for an hour where I have free time to do something for an hour, politics is going to be the last thing on my list unless it involves puppies. or unless
Yeah.
it's like something about art, or if it affects my family, like, oh, this is happening at my dad's house. I'm like, I'm not interested in it. The most I ever like got interested in politics was when and it wasn't even American politics, it was German politics, because all of the refugees that were leaving Syria, that were trying and like just flooding Germany, because Germany, it only takes, I think once you're in the country as a refugee, they had to wait the least amount of time to get a work visa. So Germany was getting flooded with all of these refugees. And, some people were welcoming to them, some people weren't. But they were all coming to Germany because Germany is the easiest place for them to get a work visa so that they can start working and support their families, because they had to, basically drop their entire lives and, run from their country because of everything that was going on there, so they, wouldn't die. And just the cultural shock to the nation and all of the things that were happening, with, girls getting raped at train stations because it's, that's okay for the guys there in their country, or it might not be okay with everyone, but it's just the cultures that were clashing. That was the most I was ever fascinated with by politics. And that was years and years ago. But I was interested in it because I was doing research I wanted to go on a trip to Europe with my sisters. And so I was looking into it. I'm like, where can us three girls go that's going to be safe? That we don't, because my dad can't take off, 2 weeks out of the summer to go around Europe with his daughter. So let's just, me and my sisters have a sister trip. It never ended up happening, but I found all that about Germany, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't go to Germany right now.
Well, it's almost like that's a rational thing to think, of being like, there are women getting violated in this country by predominantly, not all, of course, let's be real, but by predominantly these immigrant groups. And I just be a little bit afraid. Just that's all I would be afraid of. And whatever. The reality is, politics really don't matter for most of this. It's just interesting that certain people want to make your opinions on media all political.
I know, and it has nothing to do with it. Like, what I got pissed off because John Campea did that thing where he was saying, oh, if he posted on Facebook, and then he said it again in a live stream that, oh, if you don't like cuties, it's because you're a right-wing supporter.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I hate that. I'm so upset.
I remember, I don't, you probably remember too, but like when we were kids and, our parents or like family members at either family events or something, but they would get into it about politics, but it's like, it's the same story, just different day with different people. And I'm like, what you argued about back in the 90s is not relevant anymore to what's going on now. So I'm like, okay, yeah, right. Orange Man bad everywhere in the world, apparently, even though people that are weighing in on Orange Man bad, they're not even from the country, so they don't even have to like reap the effects of what's happening. It's just, I don't care. I just keep it away from my Star Wars and my Star Trek movies. Stop fucking with it. That was my vice. Y'all are going to fuck up the world. I'm a tiny little hobbit person, my little tiny hobbit hole. I like to paint pictures and draw orcs. Leave me alone.
Well, I think that's the real change here that's happening, right? Is that it started out with the Gamergate stuff, regardless of your opinion on that. But it started out with this.
What happened with that? I was not involved.
Really doesn't really matter. The impetus, regardless of what your opinion is of it, was the people who were fighting for the Gamergate stuff, their opinion, regardless of whether or not you agree with what they did, was get your politics out of my video games. And then in this insane march forward of left-wing politics, which I think we can not deny at this point is not correct, it has marched through absolutely every single geeky hobby. It's marched through comic books, it's marched through film, it's marched through tabletops, it's marched through trading card games. Every single thing has had to be made subject to hard left-wing politics, so that it doesn't matter. Something that is so innocuous to anybody normal is now being forced to be redefined as something offensive that we should all feel bad about for it having existed. And we have to retroactively apologize for us appreciating or enjoying this hobby, which is ridiculous and absurd.
Yeah, and also now you have the people that got into it because it's trendy now. I don't know about you. I think it's safe to assume though, like when I was a kid, it was not cool to like Star Wars or Star Trek.
Right.
I don't know if it was
No,
for
it wasn't.
you.
No, I was picked on for being a Trekkie. I wasn't really. I liked Star Wars, but I was a real Trekkie. So like, and Trek has always been a naughty thing to be into. You're always a real weirdo for being into that.
I think like so I like Star Trek obviously as well, and well I shouldn't say like I love Star Trek, but I think it's because Star Wars had all of the toys. Like that was more, especially when I was a kid. Like I loved action figures, and I grew up on like this big ranch, and so I would build like mud houses for my action figures around. So there'd be like
that's so cool.
There'd be like little villages around the ranch, and my dad was nice enough. He thought my parents always thought I was going to be like an architect because I like to build things, and so I would have like these little villages, and I'd have all my Star Wars action figures, and it's like this would be like where the Ewoks live. This is where the Jedi are. And so even though I would make up my own stories with them, I always had my action figures. And so I had my very first one that wasn't a hand-me-down from my brother was a Princess Leia one. And it's like the old school Kenner one. And so I took that with me everywhere. And it was really small. It fit in my pocket. I wasn't worried about it breaking, even though her head fell off a few times. But I remember somebody found it in my backpack, and it was just like absolute ridicule that me, a child, had my Princess Leia action figure with me. And nowadays, I feel like kids aren't going to get, well, yeah, if you have an action figure instead of like an iPod, maybe, because kids don't really, at least I'm learning with my stepdaughter, if they're not Legos or Beyblades, kids don't really play with toys anymore once they get, to the age where they go to school. Like everything's all virtual now.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm so upset to hear that. But so you're the only person I've spoken to who has a child around or knows a child around age 9. My mother is a preschool teacher. So she teaches very little kids, and they're not really a good litmus test for reality. Like a 4-year-old and what they do are interested in is not indicative of the rest of society. But that's so upsetting that toys aren't really a thing anymore.
It's like when we go to the store, all she wants to do is look at the toys. But then, at first I was like, yeah, sure, I'll buy you toys, because me thinking of myself when I was a child, it's like I had to save up my birthday and Christmas money. And if I got toys, it was never from the Target or Walmart, because Target didn't exist where I lived. But it was from like the secondhand store or an antique store, because that's where I got all my Star Wars stuff. But I'm like, yeah, we go to Target. And I'm like, oh, it's $10. And she's like, yeah. She's like, oh, I know that's expensive. I'm like, no, it's just $10. Yeah, get your toy. Because I'm thinking of myself when I was a kid and how much that would have meant to me. She gets it. She opens it. 5 minutes later, it's nothing. It's my dog's toy by then. And she's on the phone or on the Xbox or I guess now on her laptop or tablet playing Fortnite or Minecraft. Like that's it. It's so bizarre. She'll play with Legos for a little while if one of the devices dies, but I can't even tell you. I didn't even think that I would ever be doing this, but kids, they have these from their school. They have like school laptops, and there's Minecraft learning. And so the kids can connect their worlds. And so we had to try to connect her world to her friends. And oh my God, it was the biggest hell. And they make you go through all these things because it's security. So that way some, pedophile doesn't try to get into a kid's Minecraft game. But the dedication that these kids have to just sitting on their laptops playing Minecraft with each other. I'm like, this is so different from when I was a kid. Like I wouldn't be able to stop myself from playing with action figures or from Barbie dolls, but their dedication to playing Fortnite and Minecraft, I'm just like, don't you want to go outside? Like I have a puppy. Don't you want to play with the puppy?
Oh no! Oh, the puppy. I'm so weak to that one. Like outside, it's kind of like, but the puppy. Oh, I want to play with the puppy, or the cat, or whatever. Sugar glider, doesn't matter what you have. And you have an animal. I want to. See the animal. I don't know. I think that things have really changed though with how children interact with stuff. It's very fascinating to me, and we need to do so much research here, which is why I'm so excited I'm in the field I'm in that we have so much work to do. But it's very unusual, and I can't give you an answer as to why or what or how on that, because we just don't know enough yet. We just don't.
Oh, I mean, I remember when I was a kid and like all my friends had Game Boys, but my mom, if it's more than like 50 cents, she's not buying it for you. And even then, that's a stretch. But my brother got me like a Game Boy Color when the second Game Boy DS came out. So I was like, oh, cool, I got my Game Boy Color. And everyone else has DS. But even then, it's like I got bored of it after a while. I'm like, I want to go play outside. I want to go do this. I want to go do that. And I don't know what it is about kids just not wanting to do stuff in real life anymore, and not wanting to, like, the not playing with toys is a big thing for me, because I'm like, that was so much of my childhood. But then again, I wasn't chatting to, like, this is before, texting and stuff was a thing. So we weren't chatting up on, AM or any of that. It's like, oh yeah, you play with your friends when you see your friends, or you call them and you set up a play date, with our moms doing that. So it's just so different. But the thing that blows my mind is like, yeah, the toys, but then also it's like the nerd culture. And I know that got super off topic about what but it's like, we would have gotten, well, we got ridiculed and bullied because we like these nerdy things, and now it's mainstream. But then if somebody gets something wrong, let's say, like how I said earlier, Bajor, excuse me, no, what did I say? Beta Z instead of Bajor. Okay, the total like mind fart, and I corrected myself. But if it was somebody that I met and they were like just adamant on, oh no, it's Beta Z, not Bajor, and I'm like, well, no, actually, like that's was one of the really big things, and the Bajorans use that as like, that's where their religious beliefs are based on the prophets that are in the wormhole and all of that. And if you were trying to say that to somebody, they would just be like, oh, well, you're just gatekeeping. It's like, no.
How fascinating. How fascinating is that? I guess I could ask you this question if you've experienced this, because I sure have. Is that maybe back in like the 90s and early 2000s, or even up to the late 2000s, I would go to, mostly mid to late 2000s, where I was going to conventions. I would go to conventions and I would have this weird thing happen to me, either at conventions or sometimes just at comic book stores. So I've been reading comic books and buying comic books for a long time, like since I was an early teenager. And I would occasionally
on EFAP about Blue Beetle, and I was like, what? She knows who that is?
Oh, I love Ted Kord. I mean, Ted Kord's just my favorite Blue Beetle. As we all know, there's multiple ones, but Ted Kord is a great Blue Beetle. But there's something that I experienced a long time ago, and this has been a long time since this has happened, where I would be in a public place and I would say like, oh, I don't know, Dick Grayson or something like that. And somebody would walk up, some I don't mean to disparage or discriminate or give a stereotype, but some big fat white guy would come and be like, yeah, well, who's your favorite inker on Nightwing? And I would be like, what? I don't know. Like, I've been reading Nightwing comics for years, but can't give you my favorite inker on that. And they go, huh, fake nerd girl. That's something that hasn't existed in 10 years, okay? That guy existed for like 2 years, and he was somebody that no one liked, okay? Nobody in the community liked that dude. He was predominantly a stereotype and didn't exist. Did he exist? Kind of, because I've had it happen to me. But everyone around me was like, what? Nobody around me, in my experience, supported that kind of stuff or thought that was cool or whatever. Yeah, and they're like that to other men. It's not just to women. That's not a guy that anyone likes, that guy exists, but that's just how he is all the time. And I think that the real people who hate these nerdy hobbies, they think that every comic book fan, every game person, whatever, person who likes video games, people who like whatever, is that dude. When in the reality, he is such an extreme minority and everyone dislikes him. You know what I mean? everyone dislikes
I know
that dude.
exactly what you mean. Well, I think when I was a kid, so my mom owned an antique store because she used to do like appraising, and so it's weird. It's like her superpower is you show her this antique and she can like look at it for a few minutes. She can tell you who made it, what country it came from, how old it is, and how much it's worth. And so she used to just do that where she would either go to like specific places or people would just call her and she would drive up and down like the coast of California and she'd take me with her. But then once she had my sisters, it's like she just opened her own store. And so there was this one booth that I liked because it had comics and action figures. And so I would spend all of like my birthday money or my allowance money on like buying all the cool stuff in it. Mm-hmm. And when I was little, I found that grown-ups, they thought it was cool. They're like, oh yeah, like let me get this kid into something that I'm into. And even though I was a little girl, my mom gave me a stupid haircut so I looked like a little boy.
Oh.
So I was like this little stupid little Spock haircut, which actually was more so like to Paul in season 3 because it was a little bit longer in the back. So my little Spock-ish mullet haircut and a little Cinderella dress because I'm like, I wanted people to know I was a girl. And liking Star Wars, and I couldn't read, but like I liked looking at the pictures in comic books. And so as a kid, I'm like so used to like grown-ups that like that kind of stuff. They're like, oh, you like this, sweetheart? Okay, here you go. And like, tell me a little bit about it. And then when I got older, it was a bit different. Then all of a sudden it was like a pop quiz every single time you said you like something. And it wasn't necessarily with people that were super older than me. It was my age or within 10 years of my age. And it's like, oh yeah, I like Star Wars. They're like, oh yeah, what planet is Han Solo from? And I'm like, okay, we're about to do this right now.
Yeah, okay. Weird. It's that weird purity testing of nerds. And I think that used to be more common in the 90s and early 2000s, and it's kind of dropped off. Probably for the best. Because that's... I don't know, what do you think? Do you think we should kind of purity test nerds a little bit? Or quote-unquote nerds?
I don't necessarily do like a purity test with people. It's like with Star Wars and Star Trek, it's like first off, how much like do you know about this thing? Because if you're just a casual fan, because it's more of a how much can I talk, like how much in depth can I go into this topic? So it's like, oh, have you seen have you seen Voyager? They say yes. Okay, cool. So we can talk. So I know that they've at least seen up to like that show or like that time period in Star Trek. So they've gotten to the end where they know what happens, how Voyager gets back, everything going on with the Borg in that, and where that left off. And, so you know that about them. They say, oh no, I've only watched like the original series. It's like, okay, so then that limits on how much we can talk about it. But
right. Yeah, exactly.
I can spark your interest in this. And so I guess in my own personal thing, it's like unless I'm not off put by the person, if the person is just being a total, like, I'll usually like people unless I get the vibe that they're kind of an asshole. Then it's
right. Because there is a delineation, right, in between the person who's like, excuse me, have you seen episode 367 of this? And it's like, well, I probably have, but not off the top of my head, like there's a bit of a difference,
Well, people ask me like, have you seen this episode? I'm like, when I watched Star Trek, I couldn't read yet. So please, is it the one with the tribbles? Okay, it's the one with the tribbles. Okay, which one with the tribbles? Is it the one?
There's two. There sure are two.
Is it the one with the city in the sky and Spock is talking to the chick about art while Kirk is fighting the chick from the caves? That one? Okay, I know exactly what episode. Season what? What's the name of the episode? Okay, cool. But you know exactly what episode I'm talking about by my little description. But then, yeah, there's people that they try to stump you with like, well, in episode, it's like, the one with the thing. Okay, yeah, we both watched it. We both know exactly what we're talking about,
Yeah, I really, as someone who's a bit autistic, even I don't like that. Like even I don't like the whole, well, if you weren't able to answer the exact episode that this happened in by name, and it's like, oh, I can name pretty much every episode from TOS, TNG, and Voyager. I'm not as good on Deep Space Nine. I'm sorry. I just am not. But so I got more into Deep Space Nine when I was a little bit older. And because I think Deep Space Nine is a show that requires a little bit more intelligence and understanding maybe.
Well, I think also with Deep Space, like you have to have watched. I mean, okay,
You have to have
you don't
seen
have
TNG,
to,
yeah.
but
Kind of.
it's gonna have so much more impact on you if you've watched the Next Gen and obviously the original series. Because if you haven't and it's your first time going into Trek, you're not going to get the significance of the first episode when Sisko's wife dies, or when he has that face off with Picard and Picard was not expecting it. Because I finished Enterprise, and so I just turned on Deep Space Nine, so I'm rewatching it again. And
I gotta do that too. I do it like 3 times every year.
it
So it's about time.
like that scene, and I'm like, this is one of like, it's just so good when Sisko goes into Picard's ready room and Picard's like, oh, hey, Captain Sisko, so yeah, you're going to be taking over this, and he's all like just ready for like a casual, pleasant debriefing, and then Sisko's like, yeah, we've met before at this, and then Picard like instantly, his face, like it's so interesting to watch Captain Picard, especially after watching the stupid wannabe Picard show.
Yeah.
Watching him actually be Picard in that episode, and just instantly how Picard is just so uncomfortable because he was not expecting that. And that hostility that, he has every right to be upset because his wife was killed. But then also there's the aspect of it technically, it wasn't of his own free will that Picard did the things that he did because he was assimilated by the Borg. But even though Picard we know is still suffering from that effect, and it's something that's going to be plaguing him for the rest of his life, because he has to live with the fact that he knows that even though it was against his will, he still is responsible for the deaths of all of those people. And so it's like, it's such a great scene, and all of that tension and everything that was good about Star Trek. Like just the eyes, the body language. It's like, oh my God, it's so good.
Well, I guess we could talk about the difference between who Picard is as a character and what Picard is as a show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Star Trek Picard is such I believe, a destruction and mutilation of the character, not just of Picard, but Data, probably more than anyone else. And the relationship between Picard and Data that was bastardized in order to make a point that the show made succinctly, and then hammer it down like you're an idiot who couldn't understand it.
It's because Kurtzman doesn't understand it. Everyone working on it doesn't understand, and I get it. Patrick Stewart, he wants to be this action hero, but that's not what made Picard great.
Yeah, do you think that Patrick Stewart, that is what he wants as a classically trained Shakespearean actor, that he wants to be this action hero, or are they forcing him into it? Because I don't know. I really don't know what the impetus is there.
I think he got tired of being stereotyped as, or what is it called when the actors only get cast?
Typecast.
Typecast. Okay, he's tired of getting typed. That was right on the nose. I can't believe I didn't. He doesn't like getting typecast as that type of character, because when he did Nemesis, like the dune buggy thing, that was Sir Patrick Stewart. And then with this, because he was so involved in the writing of it, it's not who Picard is. And so I feel like he's trying to do his little passion project of what he always wanted Picard to be. Kind of like how Kirk is, he's the captain. He's always in control. And when he's not in control, that he gets upset, and then he reacts and he gets back into control. And I think that's what Patrick Stewart kind of ended up wanting, because Kirk is a different type of captain than him, and he doesn't like to be that stoic, diplomatic, like authoritarian type of character, and he wants to be the one that's doing these adventurous things.
The interesting thing is that if you watch, as I know you have, but I think as people in the audience know as well, if you watch TNG, the stoicism of Picard is a necessity out of what happened to him via his days in the academy versus the Nausicaans, right?
Yeah.
His stoicism is a necessary protection that he put in place to avoid himself from getting killed. And it's not just something he does haphazardly. It's a quite logical, reasonable, and active decision within his personality to behave the way that he does. And then to go and act irrationally because all of a sudden you care so much about androids because of Data, which Picard didn't, by the way. He came to care about Data by knowing him as a person and an individual, but didn't give him any kind of universal opinion on androids, I don't think. And there's no indication within Next Gen that that's the case.
No, I feel like it was definitely in the beginning. Picard kind of got irritated at Data. Well, Picard gets irritated at everyone, but I feel like I don't know about you, but I love Klingons, and I loved Kalar, and I loved everything with Worf, even though Alexander was a pain in the ass at sometimes.
I loved Alexander so much, actually. I'm sorry. Alexander.
There were some times where I'm like, if I said that and if I did those things, I would have gotten my ass handed to me. And so, like, watching it and then Worf trying to be diplomatic with him, I get it, he's a little boy, but
I think that why I love Alexander is that in all of media, I think he's the closest to being an actual representation of a child. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not just a stupid idiot. He can be annoying, but he's not insufferable. He wants to be like his dad. I think that Alexander might be the best child representation in media. And we are putting this directly in line, in contrast to Wesley goddamn Crusher, who's potentially the worst example of a child in media. So maybe that's why I like Alexander so much. It's just like, oh wow, these are real night and day. But I really, really like Alexander. I think he's a good character. Is he a child and therefore he's annoying? Yes. But he's a good child in that he's annoying to the right degree, for me at least.
I think one of my biggest flaws when it comes to watching movies or TV shows is I always compare them to myself, and if I like what I would do, and if that situation, and if it's something similar, and what happened to me, what versus what happened to them, which is how I relate to them. But it also, I'm aware that it's a flaw, because the situation when Worf's parents bring back Alexander, and so it's like Worf has to be the single dad on the ship, and he's dealing with stuff, but then he's also got, with missions and stuff, but then he's got to deal with his kid, and Worf doesn't like that. He doesn't like his personal life interfering with his job. And just like the stuff that happened in the episode where Alexander likes the little plant and then he almost dies because the stuff happens. And I'm like, well, isn't that convenient that happened? But just like the way that Worf disciplines him, and in movies, because I was very heavily disciplined, and so and my sisters weren't. So a little insight that I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to anyway because it makes sense for this topic. So I sometimes, and I know it's a flaw, I'm resentful because I had to deal with it in real life, is that I got disciplined and my sisters didn't. I'm the oldest child. It happens. But so when I hated it, obviously, when it was happening and when I was a kid, but as an adult, I've learned that it actually helped me understand consequences. And if that stuff didn't happen, I wouldn't be prepared for other things that have happened to me in my life. So watching some of the stuff that happened with Alexander, like, so how Worf was worried about his kid and his kid dying. So I had an incident when I was a kid and my leg got sliced open and burned by a tractor. And instead of so instead of checking to see if I was okay, my mom beat the ever-living shit out of me. And then she realized that she didn't know that it happened. She thought I was playing, and then I was crying. So she thought I was throwing a tantrum. But so absolutely no sympathy. And then she said, sorry. We went home. She stuck my leg underwater, but my leg, like, it sliced, burned. It was some of the most intense physical pain I've ever been in my entire life. But like that's when I watched that episode, I immediately thought of that time. And I'm just like, my mom didn't like ask me if I was okay or try to give me any kind of sympathy. It was very much tough love. And because of that, it taught me that, okay, even when you're in a situation like that, and I think around the same age that Alexander was in that episode. Yeah. But with Worf coming to rescue him and then giving him that coddling, he's not going to learn how to stand on his own 2 feet. And so, and because that's something that it taught me, was that even my mom, like, I can't rely on her to save me when I'm in immense physical pain, and she's my mom. So, that taught me to be I don't know, I guess stronger when something like that happens. And so when it came to the episode where it's Alexander from the future and he's talking with Dad, like this happened, I didn't like that he wasn't a stronger person. And so reflecting on it, years later as an adult, because I obviously watched this when I was younger, than watching it again as an adult, I'm just like, maybe if Worf, even though Worf was kind of, not the most loving father, but if Worf was a little bit more Klingon with him, maybe he would have been stronger and wouldn't have to be coming into the past to get his father to solve his problems. Maybe he would have been able to solve his own problems. So
I think Worf did the best he could as a Starfleet officer on a Starfleet ship, trying to put Klingon ideals into Alexander. And when he should have been, I believe Voyager, or not Voyager, excuse me, DS9, and they have that total disconnect. And Alexander is not the strong Klingon that Worf wanted him to be. It's an interesting dichotomy and interesting conflict between the characters. But I think that that's a good thing that can happen, right? Like things don't always happen or play out the way that we want. And maybe that's a good thing for us to see in media, right? Of being like, Worf did not have an ideal situation with Alexander for raising him.
Not at all. Like watching his, Alexander watching his mom die, and then like this guy that he barely knows that just happens to be his dad, that he's like stuck with him now, and he has to go live on a different planet with grandparents that he just met. Nothing about it is ideal.
No, and I think that that's a good way to. This is actually like an excellent example of Star Trek taking a really complicated idea and something that's real to the real world of children growing up with one parent, and maybe growing up with one parent who lives in one ideology or one culture, and another parent that comes from another culture, and trying to figure out how to mediate and amalgamate those two cultures and what to do with it. That's something that Star Trek was really capable of doing, even so far back as like 1996, 1998, whenever DS9 came out. That I think is something that we should still be doing in media in a fictional degree, rather than maybe so much overt, here's how you should think. But instead of saying, here's how you should think as an audience member, and saying, there's only one way to believe about this stuff, is to give the audience a thought-provoking question of what should Worf have done, right? What was he supposed to do? He's on an extremely aggressive and dangerous ship. It is the flagship of the Federation. Should he keep his 7-year-old child on the flagship, or send them to live with his parents in relative peace? His adoptive parents, What's Worf supposed to do? What's the right thing to do in that situation? And these are not easy answerable questions. These are not black and white things. They're gray matter, as all of Star Trek should be.
Well, it's real life. And like that's a real life situation. Like what do you do when you're in, some kind of job where you have to work in a kind of dangerous environment, and that, maybe if you're in the military and that is your professional career, and maybe you are in a situation where you can't have like a child living on base with you. Like, what do you do? And I think that's so relatable to so many people. And that's something that is just, oh my God, there's not even a tiny bit of nuance in it in Picard. Like, if you watched it, you would be pulling your hair out within like the first 5 minutes.
Right.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Well, I haven't seen it, but I've seen a bunch of reviews of it, because I'm not going to pay to watch that stuff, to be completely honest. And I feel like, I don't know if people might not like this of me, but when I know enough about a series to know that it's going to insult me, I'm not going to pay money to participate in that.
Oh, sorry. No, you're 100. I imagine a day of pirates all day. I do actually.
I will watch people review it, right? I'll watch people review it, and reviewers that I trust. I will listen to their reviews. And generally, I won't agree with them 100%, but believe what they have to say is probably correct. So that's where I'm at. I'm not going. I don't hate myself enough to watch Picard. I feel like I would have to actually really hate myself to do that, and I don't. Sorry.
See, I'm not that. Sometimes there's things that I'm like, it can't possibly be that bad, so let me watch it. Then there's other times where I'm just like, if people ask me to like review something, and I'm in the ability to do it, I'll do it. And then I'll always say like, no guarantees that I'm going to be able to finish it. Like what is it called? Lower Decks. Like I got 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And like I cannot take this anymore. Picard. So I already had CBS All Access because I love the show Frasier. And
I love Frasier. That's on CBS All Access.
Yeah, so it was on Netflix, and then they took it off. And
it's not on Netflix anymore.
No.
Oh no.
No, I watch Frasier. I watch an episode every day, and
I
so
love Frasier. Yeah, I didn't know it wasn't on Netflix anymore.
well, so they took it off on January 1st, and so it's only available on CBS All Access. And so when I wake up in the morning and I'm getting ready, because the episodes are short, so I have it play on like my phone or my iPad, and so but I carry it around with me into every room, so it's just convenient to have it on like where I can just pull up a streaming platform and just play it, which was really convenient with Netflix. But so they took it off.
Yeah.
And so I had to get CBS All Access for it. And I'm like, you know what? It's $10 a month for a show that I watch every single day. And hopefully some of this money is going to like Kelsey Grammer and everyone else in the cast. And
I hope it is, because Frasier is a fantastic show, but let's be real, it probably is not going to Frasier. It's going to garbage like Star Trek at this point. I know it's horrible. I don't want to admit that, but it's probably true.
Well, they can see that I'm watching, like, I'm not watching. I don't think there's anything else on CBS that I watch, but
don't they have a Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh, they do.
I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I think they might have Whose Line Is It Anyway? Which
I didn't know that. Oh, see, I literally just opened the app and it already is queued up that I'm gonna be watching Frasier.
I think that's TBS All Access or whatever their version is, and because I used to pay for that because all I wanted to watch was Whose Line Is It Anyway, and TBS, not All Access, whatever they call their thing,
I haven't watched that show ever.
I love Whose Line Is It Anyway.
It's
so good.
It's so funny. That stuff just doesn't exist anymore, and it's so sad.
You can't have fun. You can't have fun anymore.
Well, like just trying to watch modern comedy is everyone tiptoes around stuff because they're so afraid of offending someone.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you can't be funny anymore. And I'm like, this is just painful to watch because they all have to be like politically correct. And I'm like, just say it. We all know what word you wanted to say. Just fucking say it.
Say it.
But what was I talking about? It was with Picard and then it evolved into that. But so, actually, I don't know if you have Apple TV or not. Or no, we have the Amazon Firebox. So it's this cool feature where if you go and like you just search like a movie or a TV show, and it'll say, "Oh, watch it free on this app," and so you just download that app, and then you don't have to pay for the show. Like I could not find for the life of me this one show that I really wanted to watch, which I'm not going to say because it's a guilty pleasure of mine, and I don't want people to judge me.
Well, but, I mean, I won't judge you, but because I have terrible shows that I like. But don't worry.
I wanted to watch it, and I did it on like just sitting here on my computer so that I could have it in the background while I worked, and you had to pay for it. I went on my Amazon Fire TV and I just typed it in. I was like, oh, download this random app that you've never heard of and you can watch it for free. And I was like, oh, this is nice. This is nice.
Mm-hmm. So
that's a way of, aside from the Magical Bay of Pirates, a great way to find things if anyone has Amazon Fire.
It sure is. I have some issues with Amazon right now.
Oh, no.
I just think that some of the stuff they're doing is a little bit weird.
With what? I don't look into any of this stuff.
I just feel like they're being a little bit censorship heavy. I would say one thing that I really miss that doesn't exist anymore is that back in the day, Netflix used to have this really cool program called Jack, where you could answer like quick questions and be like, hey, what do you feel like watching tonight? You feel like watching a horror movie or a sci-fi movie or a drama or a historical documentary, whatever. And you could answer these questions, and then they would give you another series of questions and another series of questions. And that was really fun. They got rid of that years ago. That was something I think a lot of these sites should incorporate, is something like that. I don't know what my bitch was there, other than
There's
bring
something
back
about
drag.
Amazon and censorship.
Oh, Amazon and censorship. I do think that they promote certain things over others, and
Oh, 100%.
and I'm a little bit worried about that in terms of they want you to see certain things and they want other things to be hidden away. And
But isn't that with all like platforms nowadays?
Yes, it is with all platforms. They don't want you to see certain stuff because it may offend somebody, or it may hurt somebody's feelings, and that's really unfortunate because that shouldn't be the way that things are run. Things should be advertised. I would say that if I were a media conglomerate, that I would advertise things based on the existing appeal that they seem to have on my website, which would be logical, right? Like, oh, this stand-up comedy special is getting a huge amount of attention, so I'll promote it because clearly people are interested in it. Instead of, this thing supports my political take on stuff, so we'll promote this. One of these is partisanship, and the other one is a natural and normative media event or media action, right? Like, it makes sense to sell ads for something that's doing well.
Oh, yeah, and that's supply and demand, and that's also being
Right.
smart about your market. Because, okay, if you're going to, anyone that knows anything about business, if you create a business, your goal, I'm assuming, because this is the logical thing to assume, is that you want to make a profit, right?
Oh, no, that's capitalist, comrade. How dare you?
Well, then you're not going to succeed. I mean, as much as the Ferengis are, little menaces, they know how to get shit done and how to create successful businesses, as shady as it is sometimes.
Right.
But I mean, I feel like people nowadays, why on earth would you create a business, expect to hire employees, have a paycheck, medical benefits, be able to feed yourself? And why would you want to limit the amount of money that you could make by alienating your customers and insulting your customers? It doesn't, coming from both of my parents are, they created, owned, and operated their own businesses. So why on earth would you do something that's going to lose you revenue? Well, but that's all they are interested in doing nowadays.
It's not. They actually know that in the long run they will not lose revenue, because what they gain is something called social capital. What social capital is its own social monetary force of being like, hello, I have proven that my company is sufficiently woke and sufficiently left-leaning at this point. So now if I go do a thing after the fact that I have made this proposition, I am anticipating that I will receive the rewards via social capital and then translate that social capital into financial capital. Social capital are things like people saying, oh, I like this brand. I agree with this brand. I will interact with this brand. I will support this brand. I'll promote this brand. That's all social capital. And what they are hoping for is that if they are sufficiently left-leaning enough, that they will get all these dumb articles, right, that support them. And then stupid people, no, not all stupid people, I'm not going to be rude, but people who are easily influenced will say, okay, they identify with my political beliefs, therefore they are correct, therefore I will go watch whatever they did or support whatever they did. This is the value of social capital that translates into physical capital. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the best way I can explain it.
It does, and it's something I hadn't thought of. Well, I mean, there's always like branding. So even though if you don't agree with the way that Nike has been political in recent years, people are still, that don't even pay attention to all the stuff that's going on with Nike, they're still going to buy Nike because they know the brand. And it's so ingrained into our culture and our mind that the second we see that check mark, we immediately finish the sentence, which is just do it. And, you're going to go buy Nike. Me, I like Nike and I like Adidas. I like Nike for the shoes and I like Adidas because I like their soccer stuff. And I'm a huge soccer fan. So even though I don't agree with some of the stuff that they've done, and there's stuff that they do that's great, there's other stuff that they do that I hate. Like the fact that I am usually my feet are 2 different sizes. So I usually get size 7.5 or 8. And now Nike changed the way that they do women's shoe size. So even though I get certain size shoes for every day, I have to get a size 9.5. I don't like that. That has nothing to do with politics. I hate the fact that when I have to go shopping for shoes that I'm just like, oh, I'm going to guess that me giving you my actual shoe size is not going to work. So I have to guess on because they have Nike Air, they have Nike Comfort, they have all this stuff.
They don't measure your foot anymore in the store.
I don't like people and I don't like going to stores even before COVID.
I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you for that bit at all.
So COVID did, aside from wearing a mask, it did not change my life at all. Like I always social distance because I don't like people. I like living in my little hole, and I go out from my little hobbit hole when I need food. And I go out and I try to talk and make eye contact with as few people as possible. And I found the older I get, the more of a hermit I actually am. And looking at Obi-Wan Kenobi's life, when he had to just watch Luke from a distance, I'm like, that is ideal. I would not complain. That's like heaven to me.
Samesies. Yeah, let's get on this.
COVID, it's like
we have to find our Luke. Who's our Luke? I don't know. We mentor from afar. We got to find one.
It's the people on the other side of the YouTube that watch the videos while we make it. There you go. They're all about Luke. We're using our force powers to teach you about the things that we learn about through our videos. There you guys go.
Sure. It's true.
But so when I would order things, if I needed new running shoes or something, and it's like, oh my God, I actually have to go into the store at Nike because the shoe sizes are wrong. That is more irritating to me than any political thing that they don't run on the regular shoe sizing thing. Never in my life did I ever think I would fit a 9.5 shoes, but Nikes are like, hold my beer because we're weird sizing.
Yeah, I have one pair of Nikes. It was like when I graduated from high school, I asked for a pair of Nikes. and they weren't just any pair. They were this extremely expensive pair of rainbow colored Nikes. And I really wanted them. They're hideous. But I've worn them 3 times because when you spend $150 on a fucking pair of sneakers, you can't wear the dang things,
Oh, I know.
What are you supposed to do? That's why now what I'm wearing right now are the cheapest pair of sneakers I could possibly find. I'll throw them away in 3 months because I paid $10 for them or whatever. So
I got my sneakers that I've been wearing. I got them from Ross. And they were $11, and they're super comfy, and they do the job perfectly.
That's what I like. That's how I like it. They're pieces of shit. I know I'm gonna throw them away in 6 months. Because I know they'll fall apart. But I'd rather have something that's comfortable and works for 6 months rather than something that costs $120 and I'm too afraid to wear.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a personal choice. I don't know.
I know I'm right there with you. When it doesn't come to me buying statues or collectible action figures from Sideshow, that is where I will spend my money. It's oh my gosh, I have to spend money on things that I actually need. Where's the cheapest way I can get a hold of this? Oh my gosh, there's a statue of David Bowie from Labyrinth. Oh, buy it. Who cares about the cost? But it's just, I try, unless it is just in your face bad, the politics of a company, I try to not look at it and just to look at what the products are that they offer. And with Nike, because it's so ingrained in me that is a good brand, that it's reliable, I trust it. I also, it's done the job. It's gotten a hold of me. It got me with the look of it, the aesthetic of it, the brand. I like that when I have the little check mark, people know that I'm wearing Nikes. And I wouldn't say that that's a vanity thing. It's just, it's when I go and play sports, it's okay, I have the good shoes on. So my coach isn't going to be those are shitty shoes. You need to get better cleats. It's no, they see immediately okay, I don't need to worry about Anna and her cleats falling apart while we're playing soccer.
This is the fantastic thing about studying social psychology, right? Is that what you've just described is a complete social psychology microcosm, right? Of, I know that they won't necessarily disrespect me, but I have to display the certain social symbol. And this is why social psychology is so interesting, right? Is that you have to display a symbol to feel that you'll be respected by someone else in a communication context. But really, what has happened here? Nothing. There's been no real exchange of verbal communication. It's all been nonverbal. That stuff's so interesting to me. It always has been. That's why I've been studying it my whole life. But like, there were no words exchanged between you and your trainer, but so much information was shared just by you wearing a different pair of shoes. That stuff's so cool to me. Sorry, like, to me that makes me nerd out. I'm like, that's so cool.
It's something, I think when it comes to psychology, it's one of those things that everyone is aware of it, but you don't necessarily have to say anything to acknowledge the fact that that is a thing and that it exists. And it's one of those like necessary evils that we deal with every single day. And I mean, there's some people that will judge you for it. Like, oh my God, there's this one person that was in college that was just absolutely insufferable. If you had anything name brand, they're like, oh my God, you're one of them. And it's like,
well, that can have an interesting oppositional result as well from the psychological perspective, in that, this brand, it creates or generates some sort of psychological benefit or social psychological benefit within a certain group because, Nike are known as a positive brand, but then within a different group, it could have the opposite effect because they're countercultural. This is why communication is so interesting, and why it's always very fascinating to study this kind of stuff, right? To me, at least. I don't know.
I think I don't know about you, but when it's in real life, people, I always, like, as compared to on my channel, because I really enjoy public speaking. I don't get nervous by it at all. I can stand in front of thousands of people and talk off the cuff or read a speech or any of that, and I don't get nervous. It doesn't bother me. Having to be in a group one-on-one setting where I have to talk to people that I don't know, or I'm in like a social group where I might know a few people or like casual, it is the most uncomfortable thing in the world for me. So I've always liked to just sit back and observe and kind of see how people interact and see what type of people they are before I feel comfortable enough talking. And if I have to, I feel like it's just written on like my face that it's like, I am uncomfortable. And
That's interesting. Obviously.
Well, so when it comes like, so for example, what I was saying about like a person that I went to college with, it was like, anything brand name is awful and you're the embodiment of evil. I went to college in San Francisco, so there was a lot of people like that. And I got lucky in that situation where I was like, well, you're using this brand calculator, so don't even get on my ass, because we live in San Francisco and we have to hike up hills, and I'm wearing nice, comfortable hiking boots, and they're warm too, because it's freaking cold in San Francisco. But I can't stand people like that judge you immediately for what you're wearing or like what brands you have, like just from what they see. But then at the same time, it's like, well, I'm also guilty of that because
we all are.
Yeah. Also, when I was, playing sports, and it's like, okay, those I know, that's not a good brand. Those shin guards, like, you're going to be fucked. Like, you need to get the good ones. And it's like, because when you're playing on a team, you're not reliant on just yourself. You're reliant on the other players. And so if one of you fuck, or if somebody's the weakest link, like, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if that weakest link is going to be what's holding you back, you want to rise them up. So that way, they're not a liability anymore. And so again, it's not necessarily a vanity thing. It's more of like, you need to get on the same level as everyone else, and we'll help you. But it's one of those things that bothers me because I know that I do it, but not necessarily for the same reasons as others. And maybe that's just me trying to justify my own shortcomings. But I feel like it's something that I've seen in everyone. Like, I don't think I've ever met someone that doesn't do this to some level, whether it be, they are aware of it or it's an unconscious thing that they do.
They're 100% aware of it. It's two simultaneous effects that you're talking about here psychologically. One is called the primacy effect, and the other is called the halo effect. So the primacy effect is that we base our opinions on people based on the information that we receive about them first. So I take a quick look at you. I size you up. I see that you're wearing brand name stuff. Oh, that gives me a certain amount of information about you. If you have a certain look to you that in some way displays or depicts influence or affluence, then what will occur subsequently is something called a halo effect, which is that people who have this idea that somebody has good things that are associated with their personality because of the things that they're even wearing potentially, then I will associate all goodness to everything that they say or do. And for moreover, the primacy effect will give us a good idea to believe, or would predict that people will anticipate other good things to come from someone who they have an initial positive report of. This means it's really, really difficult to then have a negative opinion towards someone who that we initially view positively, both because of the halo effect and because of the primacy effect. It's very hard to change our opinions, because when we have to change our opinions, what do we run into then? We run into cognitive dissonance. So it's so hard to change those initial opinions. Primacy and halo effect are very hard to change. Sorry, There's some psychology shit for you here.
No, I mean, that's why I asked you to be a guest on here, is because I want to hear your 2 cents on stuff like this, because I saw somebody say it earlier when I said I'm interested in psychology, like all women are interested in psychology. And I'm like, you know what? I think all humans are interested in psychology.
I think they are as well. I think all humans are interested in psychology. But what I do is I do real strict social psychology research. So that's what I know. And that's about all I know. I'm kind of stupid on everything else.
When it comes to research, it's like there are things that I'm like, I can spin, like I can go down the rabbit hole and become like Mulder in the basement with it.
Yeah.
And then there's other things where I'm like, I do it for a few minutes and I'm like, okay, I'm bored. So when it comes to psychology, it's certain things, like if it's affecting me in my real life or in like a show that I'm watching and I want to have a better understanding, I'll look into it. But a majority of the time, this is the one thing, because I usually don't. Like before I was on YouTube, I didn't watch YouTube videos unless it was an art tutorial that I needed to learn a certain technique. Something broke and I needed to know how to fix it, and my dad wasn't there. Or when I'm trying to understand something in a social setting, because I'm very socially awkward. And so psychology, you find people that, give entire lectures on this stuff. And I feel hearing it from somebody explaining it, whether, they be a professor or like a special event speaker, I don't know. I feel like I understand it better as compared to reading a research paper on it.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's research. There's actually research on that. Funnily enough, it's easier to understand someone who's speaking to you one-on-one than reading a dry piece of research. And even for me, like I wake up every day and read research for fun, and even I would rather probably hear someone describe it, but then I'd have to go through and read the research. But that's just a little bit of a different orientation, right? Like I'm a statistician, so what I'm looking for are numbers, and as much as it's interesting to hear a person describe it, and as much as that makes it easier to understand, I need personally to see the data and the science. But for the average person who's not a weird autismo like myself, it is probably way better to hear someone just give you like the basic words to explain what's happening, because the problem is that science isn't, in a way, being held back from people via our language, in that nerdy autistic scientists have a different language that we use to describe things that makes it almost inherently separate from the way that the average person reads and understands things. And that's not intentional, I don't think, but it is potentially a problem. If that makes sense. I'm just saying that we have like words for everything.
So many people, because I mean, there's people that, especially like with what we were talking about earlier with the whole Chris Pratt situation on Twitter, where it's like they follow someone, like maybe it's a celebrity, and this celebrity is their god, this celebrity can do nothing wrong, but the second that celebrity or person that they admire steps outside of their idea of what that celebrity is, they turn on them. And so when you watch people just blindly, and I really don't like to talk too much or do videos on other people that are content creators, because it's like, you do what you do in your house, I'll do what I do in my house. If you want to paint your house lime green, that's your house. Do with it what you please. I might not agree with it, but that's your house.
Yeah.
But with the way that like Grace Randolph was handling it, I'm like, what the hell? Like, do you not see the things, how like insane the things that you're saying about the situation? Like, I'm not going to chime in, but here's me chiming in, and let me hashtag it. So it
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
it's
Exactly.
like, oh my God, what are you doing? But like, it's people that will just blindly agree with everything that that person says, and then they don't take the time to research it. That is what bothers me. And it's a really big problem as compared, like, so for example, I really like the human calculator guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not interested in math in any way whatsoever. And I, ever since high school, I've never had to use it. Thank you, algebra professor. That told me I didn't need it, and then I needed it. Fuck you. I've never damn used. I don't know where X is, and I don't care. Find your own damn X. But anyways, I like watching him talk about it and him explain things, because I'm like, wow, if somebody would have explained to me like this to me as a kid, my life would have been differently. Maybe I could have become an astronaut like I always wanted to. But I'm happy with the way things turned out anyway. But it's him explaining it to me, and then me now knowing that stuff, and then going in and looking into it more because I have that knowledge of it. Like I said in the beginning of the stream, like my favorite book, favorite movie is Silence of the Lambs. Absolutely love it, fascinated by it. And that, you know, the whole aspect of villains and heroes, and, or I guess I should say, like, oh my God, I'm blanking on the words, protagonist and antagonist, and the things that go into like what a true villain is. Because I feel like even though if you are a villain in a story, but if you look, it's all from a certain point of view, right? Like they say in Star Wars, it's like from the Emperor's point of view, Luke is the bad guy because the Emperor is just trying to attain his goal, and Luke is in the way of his goal. So yeah, take out the murder and all the other horrible stuff that he does, and just look at what his goals are. He's not, being the best person about going and obtaining those goals, but he is just trying to achieve his goals, and Luke is standing in his way. Whereas, but I guess the difference would be the fact that he's like murdering people. But if you just take that aside and look on paper, it really does depend all from a certain point of view. And so really looking into that, because I like to tell stories, and that's why I went into the field that I went into, because I saw Ralph McQuarrie's artwork and I was like, oh my God, I can't go into outer space, but I can tell stories through my artwork. And so really trying to get down in depth on what a villain is and what makes a person a bad person, because there's things that happen to a person that makes them go down the path, like with Anakin, why he decided to go into the dark side. It was because he wanted to achieve his goal, right? And so learning about what it is that makes a person snap when they get to that point. You're going up the hero's journey, and you're either going to go one path or the other path. You're going to go to the light side or the dark side. What is it that's going to break a person to make them go to the dark side? And so that's become like my area, that whenever I'm thinking of something or on a character, and that's the most fascinating part to me. So I'm like, what happened to Hannibal Lecter that made him do these things? And then when you read Hannibal Rising and you find out, it's like, oh shit, like I can kind of see why that would make a person snap. I wouldn't do the things that he did, but I can. It gives you a little bit of a better understanding, and the difference between what a a psychopath versus a sociopath is. And I feel like people just throw around those words so much, especially on Twitter. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves, because like, you're a sociopath. And I'm like, no, you're describing a psychopath. A sociopath does not feel emotions the way a psychopath does. Like people just don't understand it. And it's like, when people say, oh, literally, and they mean figuratively.
Yeah. Like, I hate that one. Oh my God. Oh,
with the psychopath and the sociopath, I'm like, that's when people get upset about literally and figuratively. That is my literally and figuratively, and it drives me crazy. And from like a storyteller point of view. But so with Cuties, did you watch it?
Oh, I don't want to be put on FBI watch list, so no, I didn't. I mean, listen. I watched many people review it. But I don't want to subject, and I've seen pictures of every scene in that film. So I don't
Yeah,
I
you
know
don't
what
need to watch
happens,
it.
and I don't want to have to see that physically happen. I've seen screenshots, and I feel like I should be on a watch list for seeing the screenshots. So I'm done, and I'm good with that. Oh my god.
Well, so I didn't think it was going to be as bad as everyone said. So I was like, you know what? Maybe it is one of those things where it's getting blown out of proportion. And I watched it, and like,
Nope.
I've never been so livid. It was far worse. But one of the things that because their whole defense is that, oh, well, you guys just don't understand it. And I'm like, you guys, my thing, it's like, okay, if you're actually being sincere, you're completely ignorant of what you did and the fact that you're actually exploiting children, and the things that you did were shot by shot, in tune with pornography.
It is. I have seen the shots. They zoom in on a child's crotch as she humps the ground.
Yes.
Excuse me, how is this okay?
It's
sorry,
not, but
I'm disgusted.
oh, well, okay, if you took all of that out, and you don't even look at all of the stuff that the little, like the dancing, take all the dancing out,
Yeah.
and it's just, and you don't, the way the dance routines are shot, and
It's how it's filmed.
Dancing, it's not zooming.
It's how it's filmed. That's so gross.
Yeah, the cinematography, and then you learn the things about the cinematographer and how this isn't the first time he's done this.
Yeah.
With the director, and this isn't the first time they've done a movie like this. This is actually their second time doing this movie.
Yeah.
But if you just look at the main character, you take out all of the exploiting children, all of the sexual stuff, and you just look at the main character, it's like the origin story of a serial killer. And so their entire thing is like, oh, well, you don't understand, it's about this. I'm like, no, this is a child. And if you watch, because I like to watch documentaries on serial killers, because
I do too.
You learn about them. So it's like learning about Jeffrey Dahmer when he was a child, and the stuff that he did differently, the way he was socially awkward. He was the class clown, but he didn't have anyone he was close to. It's like the things with Ted Bundy, and the fact that he was, the thing about who his real father was, and all the inbreeding and all the sick, twisted stuff. And if you look at what happened to them as children, because we're we evolved based on what happens to us when we were kids. And then you look at the main character in the movie, it's like, okay, she's 11. She knows what's right and what's wrong. Very aware. In the beginning, she seems to love her mother. She loves her little brothers, and she wants her own room, doesn't get it. Okay, there's stuff going on with mom and dad. But then the way that she stalks the little girl named Angelica, and it's like, I mean, just like Hannibal Lecter says to Clarice, it's like, what, where do we begin? We covet. What do we start by coveting? We covet what we see every day. And that's exactly what happens with Ami. And so if you switched out that scene where Hannibal is talking to Clarice about Buffalo Bill, you switch that out with Ami, it's exact. And so
are you proposing to make a Cuties sequel? Cuties 2, The Retribution.
Well,
if
they said this is the origin story of a serial killer, I'd be like,
right,
succeeded. Them saying, oh, this is about a little girl and living in a world where they're just misunderstood because of so and so, that you did not succeed. You succeeded in showing a little girl who, I would say she's more of she doesn't really show emotion the way that I would say she's. I don't know. I'd have to see more, because it's hard to diagnose it when they're a child. I'd have to see how she is in this, if they did a second movie, if she's the way that she responds to things as an adult. But she's definitely one of the two, where she stalks a little girl. She obtains what she wants. She doesn't care who she hurts or what she does to obtain her goal. She doesn't care if it's right or it's wrong. She will stop at nothing to get what she wants, and she will cut down anyone that's in her way. She has no moral. She almost murders a little girl. She stabs a little boy in the hand. She has no remorse at the end of the movie for anything that she's done.
I don't understand the message, right, of this. I really don't. I know that it's supposed to be, child drag queen pageants are bad. Well, guess what? We all kind of know that. I don't think that it's a bad message, though, to say that child drag or not drag, but child beauty pageants are bad. They sexualize children who are a vulnerable, protected class of people who should not be sexualized. But at the same time, the film sexualizes them to an extreme degree. So we're presented with an extreme conundrum and contradiction of facts. And I really don't know what the film is supposed to be saying. It's saying this thing is bad by showing us how it's disgusting and bad. And maybe that's a way of doing it, I don't know. But when it comes to something like child sexual abuse, I don't think you need to show it. Sorry.
Well, it just baffles me because the thing that they're pitching, which is, yeah, child sexualization is bad, but then they're in tune doing it, but taking it so far, because you could look at
It's
a child's
horrible.
beauty pageant routine or like a dance routine, but when you watch, like, go on YouTube, go child beauty pageant dance routine, and it's not zoomed into a little girl's crotch, it's
Right.
showing the entire stage and all of the little girls dancing in sync, which is what happens when you do a dance routine. Is it's to show, because it's not a solo, it's a routine within a dance group,
Right.
to show that everyone can move in tune with each other and sync to the music. That is the point. That is what they are judged on. Zooming into their crotch and their ass and like their face when they're doing like sexual faces or noises, that is taken to the ultimate extreme, and that's what they're doing. It's like you could have shown exactly what if you wanted to show that child sexualization is bad, you could have done that without zooming into a little girl's crotch.
Yeah, please. Thank you. I mean, like, well, I'll tell you this, right? At OhioCon, the biggest convention, anime convention in Ohio, for years and years, for whatever reason, in January or February, when the convention is held, and again, I don't know why this happened, but for years, there was a child pageant, beauty pageant, that was always scheduled at the same weekend as this gigantic weeaboo convention.
What?
And so I don't know why, it just was the reality of it. So without fail, there would be these really uptight moms and their gaggle of children that were all dressed in their sexual outfits, let's be real. Like they're tiny, like, I'm not saying that in a gross way, I'm saying that in a they are wearing nothing but panties and a bra way. And they would come into the convention center food court, and my favorite experience was that we were waiting to get burgers, and my friend, who we called Susie because he had long, beautiful, luscious locks, was dressed as Jesus because he had long, beautiful, luscious locks. And this woman who had behind her a group of like 10 5-year-olds who were dressed in bikinis was furious, shaking her head in horrible disgust at my friend. And she said really loud right behind him, "That man has no respect for the Lord." And it's like, I don't think you do either. I don't think you do either. But,
oh my god, the big I hate those type of moms. Oh my god.
I don't think I think your kids, the gaggle of 5-year-olds you have behind you wearing a bikini, all wearing bikinis covering their 5-year-old nipples and hoo-has. Oh my god. And you're fine with that. That's fine. But you're mad at my friend for being dressed as Jesus. Okay.
It's like you want to go back in time to when Jesus was alive. All little girls would be either stoned or sold into slavery, and you probably would be stoned for doing that to children. Or
what a bizarre what a bizarre kind of disconnect between that. You know what I mean?
Oh, so my bladder is about to explode. Can you hold the fort while I go run to the restroom?
Sure, we'll try. I asked you to do that before.
I can play would you like me to play a clip?
You could. Or I could entertain people with stories about my friend Susie. I don't know. Like, either one will work.
I will let you entertain people with Susie. I will be right back.
Well, Susie was my friend. He looked like Jesus. He really, truly did look like Jesus. He was a big, tall man. He was like 6'7", 6'8". He looked like Jesus, and people got upset about him looking like Jesus. He just went around and did the, you hear that snap finger Jesus point to people all day long at the convention. It was very fun. It was very wholesome. But I couldn't believe that some god dang, like what track-suited white woman with a literal trail of 5-year-olds in bikinis behind her got very mad at my friend Susie. Now, things that Susie would do at the convention, were they Christ-like? You can be the judge of that. Susie would very often take out from his backpack a giant dildo and deep throat it. Was he a really great exemplar of Buddy Jesus? I don't know. He did put a really giant dong in his mouth, and but I mean, is that not what Jesus would do? Chat, is that not what Jesus would do?
I have returned.
I just had to explain. My friend Susie also had a big dildo, and he would suck it at.
Oh my god! Was this at the convention?
Yes, because what else would? This is why we were upset that there were 5-year-olds at this convention, because it's kind of not. I've been to conventions for most of my life, and they're mostly full of degenerates. So, like, that's just what I've been used to seeing.
Jessi, who's usually the co-host of this show, she does. She's like a fencing. She's a fencing instructor, but then she also does reffing for like fencing conventions. And she was actually saying how when she does like this big fencing convention, ironically in Ohio as well, there's always like a kid beauty pageant there too. And I'm like, what is
I guarantee it's the same convention center. It's in Columbus. I guarantee it's the same convention center. I guarantee it.
Is that like the capital of like little kid beauty pageants or something?
It's the capital of Ohio is Columbus. And every time, no matter when that convention was being held there was always a little kid beauty pageant at the same time.
That's so bizarre. I grew up in this tiny, tiny, tiny little town in California, and the only beauty pageant they had was for like the little miss or little mister of the town. And even then, it's like you walk around the town pool, you have your little 4th of July dress on, or little 4th of July suit on, I guess, a little bow tie, even though it's like 120 degrees. And you give a little speech, you do your cute little song or dance or play whatever instrument, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's the pageant. It's like you're not getting in skimpy outfits. So when I saw the show, like the little kid beauty pageant, I think I saw like a commercial with Honey Boo Boo, and I was like,
right,
what on earth is this? Or this is like Jerry Springer times a million with mothers and children.
We had something kind of like it when I was a little kid, but it was through the Girl Scouts of America, and we didn't do like little costumes. It was just like every girl came up on stage and was like, I can play the flute. I know how to knit. And it was just, that was it. It was just 7-year-old girls showing off whatever, basic skill they had. And that was the only kind of little girl pageant I've ever been in. So I don't know. I find that little child pageants to be horrifying, but I don't know if they actually help child self-esteem. I get the feeling that they don't. I don't have the research or data on that, so I can't give you a definitive answer, but I get the feeling it's not helpful.
I would say the most interesting child pageant or talent show I've ever seen was the Addams Family with Wednesday and Pugsley.
Yeah.
And the blood.
Right, right.
If that's what child beauty pageants were, was them reenacting horrific death scenes or like Shakespearean death scenes, that would be far more.
I'd be down for that. Sure.
Could you imagine? And they're saying they're brutalizing children by making them kill each other. It's like, really? Okay, let's watch this. It reminds me of Galaxy Quest with the little
yeah.
The little miners.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're little kids.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no, they're gonna eat you.
I was saying Galaxy Quest forever. I missed that movie. It was such a good movie. That's an underrated film, I think, truly.
That's so good. But you know what's funny is I was watching it, recently, and then I was looking at the bad guy, and even though I watched it recently, I cannot for the life of me remember his name. He looks just like the Xindi reptilians.
Not Tim Allen. I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, the bad guy, and definitely not Tim Allen. But
I know what you mean. I can't remember what he's called. I haven't seen Galaxy Quest in probably like 6 or 7 years. Jeez. Oh Christ.
What is his
Look
name?
it up.
It's like a 1-syllable. That's always how it's like, though. But I just love the scene where she, Cyrus.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is. But he looks just like the damn Xindi. And because I was rewatching Enterprise, and I'm like, oh my god, even the stupid spikes from his head, they look exactly the same. But I always loved Galaxy Quest.
I love it too. It's a great film.
Just the part where she's like, why is this in the ship? Who wrote this episode?
Oh, I love it. Galaxy Quest is a wonderful parody of Star Trek in a way that is not offensive towards the source material, but just being fun towards it. I would also say that the episode 200 of Stargate SG-1 is a perfect exemplar of that as well, which I love so much.
I love Stargate SG-1 as well, and I think that's one of the reasons why I actually did like Enterprise was because the aesthetic of it reminded me so much of SG-1. But
yeah, it is very similar. I think what I didn't like about Enterprise is that it didn't feel like Star Trek. It felt like Stargate.
Yeah,
and that was odd, right?
It's like Stargate,
and there were Stargate Universe at around the same time. A little bit later, but they felt like a similar show, and I don't know. I just liked that they felt like a series from a shared universe, but not from the respective universes that they came from, both Enterprise and Stargate Universe.
Sorry, I got something. My dog's in here. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, my dog, she wanted immediate attention right this second.
Oh, no.
And
sometimes you gotta pay attention to the doggo.
I know. She's like, you had Starbucks with a muffin like a few hours ago? Let me dig through the trash and knock it over and try to find the remnants of said muffin. And it's like, Tulip, you old butt. But my dog, she's a Pekingese, which is they're very, very sweet, and they have to be able to see you or another human at all time, or they get like very bad anxiety.
Oh, we have what do they call it? They're not originally my dogs. Shoot, I can't remember what the kind of dog breed is. They have big, floppy, fuzzy ears. I can't remember what the breed is. Shoot. They're not terriers. I can't remember the breed the dog is, but they're very, very sweet. Those dogs are wonderful, but every once in a while they'll wake up and they'll be upstairs. So, which is cute.
Yeah, so Tulip, she's little, but whenever I'm in here like working and stuff, she kind of knows not to bother me. Unless I have food, then she's just like, what are you doing right now? Or unless like my boyfriend or the munchkin aren't home, then she's like, you need to be looking directly at me or else I have to have a way to see you. And right now boyfriend is outside doing yard work, and so she's just like, he's not paying attention to me. So I know you're busy, but I'm going to come in and make you pay attention to me right now because I'm cute and I know I can get away with it.
Yeah. Oh, Russell Hall. Sorry, I checked the chat real quick. Yeah, there's some kind of spaniels. I don't remember which kind they are, but there's some sort of spaniels, and they're adorable. My
Are they King Charles Cavalier?
I think they are. I don't know. My boyfriend's mother family, they raise and breed them.
Oh.
So the ones that they have, oh my god, just last fall we had so many puppies.
Aww.
They're adorable and they were so cute. They were so fuzzy. They were adorable. But they're purebreds. I don't know the exact breed. I'm not into it. It's not my business really, but they're really sweet dogs. They hated me when I first came here. They like hated me, but now they're cool with me, so that's good, you know.
Did you ever end up moving to the UK?
Yeah, I moved to the UK about a year ago.
Oh my goodness, how is it? It's
literally no different from the US. Like, I don't understand. It's just like being in the US, man. That's about it.
How is it with lockdown and everything over there, though?
We got out of lockdown like 2 months before everyone else. So
really,
considering I live on an island with 80,000 people, yeah, we're not as worried about it than the rest of the world. But I was in the hospital. I was sick personally for like months and months. It started like right as lockdown started. I got really sick. So I basically didn't have to deal with all the terrible social stuff. I mean, I had to deal with the terrible reality of being in the hospital for 3 months, which was awful. But I didn't have to deal with the social aspect of that. So, you know, win some, lose some, I guess. I'm not really sure what the analogy would be there. But yeah, we have now been, I think, off lockdown for about a month. So, which is nice. I guarantee we'll be back on for no reason. Just because somebody will bring it in and we'll have to go back on, but whatever.
I'm trying to think, what island in the UK only has 80,000 people? Are you on like the Isle of Man or something?
I'm not in the Isle of Man, and in fact, we cannot allow them to come over here because they still have active cases.
Oh.
So don't worry, don't think about it too much, because you'll be doxing me and I'll get mad about it. And I'm just joking.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm joking. But I've made it clear where I am. There's a whole bunch of tiny little islands around the UK that only have like tiny populations on them. And yeah, it's interesting. It's different living here in some ways, but really I don't feel any different from how I lived in the US all my life. It's not markedly different in any realistic way. Everyone here speaks English, so I mean, like, I don't have to learn a new language. So
I only went to Europe for the first time last year, and I went to Switzerland and Germany, and then had to be in the UK for like an hour or two, like in between airports. But when I think of like places that I want to travel to, it's usually because there's like historical significance, like the pyramids. Like that's my number one. And then I want to go
I'd love to do that. Yeah.
And I want to go to Greece to go see like where all like, you know,
same
things.
Yeah.
And then also then it's like the animals. What animals do I want to see? So I'm like all hyped up on Australia because I want to hug a koala very, very badly. And I hear
that'd be great. I'd love to do that.
And then like my favorite animals are elephants. I'm like, Africa, but then you have to get like 10,000 shots and like you can die. So I'm like, but
well, my favorite animal is a bear cat. It's also called a binturong. They live in like Thailand. I'd like to go see that animal, but that's about it.
See, I couldn't eat anything in Thailand because I am very picky.
Yeah, it'd be real hard. I'd be so afraid to go to some. I'd be okay with traveling to most northern, eastern European or countries. I don't know if I'd trust all of them, but I trust them to a degree. And I'd be fine going to Japan. I think I'd be okay going to Thailand to a degree as long as I'm in the cities. You know what I mean? I think I'd even be okay going to Vietnam, but I'd be a little bit sus. A little bit sus.
See, I almost went to Ireland because my guy I was dating in college lived there. And I had a lot of friends that lived in like Dublin and Galway. And so like almost went there. But I found that when I was a kid, I loved adventures and I was like, let me get as far away from home as possible. And now I'm much more like, what if I get trapped in this other place and I like can't see my dad, or I don't know. I think it's because now I'm an adult. I'm so much more aware of like human trafficking and other things. So I'm like, where can I go that's safe that I could escape from if all of a sudden there's a zombie apocalypse, which is not a rational way of thinking at all.
No, I don't think so.
But The Walking Dead, I watched it one night when I was very, very drunk and home alone. And I was terrified because I'm like, oh my God, I'm in San Francisco in a basement, no less, all alone with no vehicle. How the hell I would die? Like I would either have to stay inside until I ran out of food. And so now I just, because of that one drunken night, I have this insane paranoia of a zombie apocalypse. And like, where can I go that I could escape from?
Yeah.
And being trapped on an island with only 80,000 people, I mean, that's a lot better than being trapped in a city with like millions of people. So you have better chances of surviving than I do right now.
Well, if you're interested in that, there's a really great comic called Stand Still, Stay Silent. That's about Iceland essentially becoming an independent state after a global destruction event, because Iceland is able, they have their own energy producing facilities, where I live does not, by the way. That could be completely independent, but it's interesting to think of places that would be allowed to kind of survive, right, in weird post pandemic, I suppose, nightmare apocalypse scenarios.
It's a totally irrational fear that I all of a sudden have, but it's been something that it's always in the back of my mind, and I know that it's completely irrational, but I'm just it's affecting me whenever I make decisions, and I'm conscious of it. And so when we went to Switzerland, we were in like Zurich, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this place is beautiful, so it totally distracted me. But on the way there, I'm like, okay, make sure we don't make any eye contact with anyone, because I watched Taken, and I don't, even though I'm with my boyfriend, I don't want to like talk to someone or give too much information about myself, even though if this is a TSA person asking me information, and it's just paranoia. And now with COVID and everything,
right,
traveling is hard. And so now I'm like, because I can't travel now, that's all I want to do. But my mom is like very much on a kick about, she really wants to go to Scotland all of a sudden. And partially because it's my sister, I guess she wanted her ashes spread like in cool places, according to my other sister. So there's this like castle that was in this movie that we watched when we were kids. So my mom wants to go there to spread my sister's ashes there. And I'm like, Mom, you're the biggest thing he has to travel with, but also going all the way to Scotland to like spread ashes is going to be kind of a pain in the ass. But we've been trying to figure all of that out, and this pandemic has made it almost impossible.
Well, my mom is a gigantic Beatles fan, and all she wants to do, in just like before she dies, she's not that old, because I'm not quite that old. I'm old, but I'm not that old. She just wants to go walk across Abbey Road. That's just her. That's her whole goal in life. That's what she wants to do. And I keep being like, well, Mom, like, if you do now, like, I have a place, kind of, sort of, somewhat in the region, that you can stay at, and you'd be fine to stay here, so you could go walk across Abbey Road, because that's what you want to do. But she hasn't been able to do it now. She's been trying to do it for over a year, like actively trying to, because she's had the money this year to do it, to walk across Abbey Road, but because of the dang COVID stuff, it hasn't been an option. Right now, like for the whole year, I haven't been able to go home. I couldn't go visit my parents, and my dad just got really sick. He just got a hernia. And it's luckily my family's okay, but if my mother or father died, thank God they haven't, but if they got seriously sick or died or something like that, I wouldn't have been able to come see them this year because of this COVID stuff. I would have just had to been like, oh, well, like, that's really messed up. So sorry, this took a weird dark turn.
It really did. I am so sorry to everyone in the chat, but yeah, no, I mean, my grandfather passed away a few months ago, and
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We all knew it was coming. He's had like dementia, and he got like an infection, and it just we all said our goodbyes before it happened. But it's just, his funeral was like one of the most depressing things, because it's not because people didn't want to be there, but people didn't come there because they have all of these regulations. And it's like, I felt terrible for my grandma, because she had to say goodbye to her husband, and it was like an empty room, and we couldn't even go down, like when they when we buried him, we had to go to a mountain because he was in the service. So he was buried at a military whatchamacallit, graveyard.
Yeah.
And so we had to go to a mountain with binoculars. My grandma is in her 80s, and we had to go up this mountain with her in like 100-degree weather and stand on a mountain with binoculars to be able to watch it.
Oh, Jesus Christ, though.
And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we know that there's a pandemic, but can you at least like let us have this thing like where we can grieve as a family?
Right.
And so, like, that to me is one of the like more infuriating things. I'm like, I'll wear a mask, it's fine. I don't care if like the movie theater is closed. I'll watch the movie in the comfort of my own home anyway. But it's like, can you at least like give us these like human rights? And it's just like I can deal with not being able to go on vacation, you know, or
yeah, whatever. Right. I don't need that, you know, but it's insufferable that I can't go back to the United States. I moved here last fall. I don't remember which month exactly, but I haven't been able to come visit. I specifically had plans to visit my family in March, and I had to cancel them because of the virus. And I understand why they were put in place, but that kind of stuff of not being able to go to a funeral is heinous. That's terrible.
And I get they don't want it to spread, but it's like, you don't, like, I was having this conversation with someone that like wasn't aware that this was happening because they hadn't, you know, had to go to a funeral, which is, you know, good. I hope nobody has to go to a funeral. It's, you know, one of the most depressing things you could possibly do. But I guess like the people, especially the state that I live in, because they're not, it doesn't directly affect them. So they don't care if these regulations are hurting people in a sense. And so like specifically like the police showed up to like the wake where it was just like the immediate family.
What? Really?
Yeah, to make sure nobody would come in, and if you brought flowers, you had to leave them in your car.
Whoa. That's crazy.
It really was. And I'm like, this is the most bizarre and it's like, don't do this to my dad, my aunt, my uncle, or my grandmother, you know? I'm like, that is the last thing they need to be dealing with.
Right, that's unbelievable. I can't believe. I mean, I can't believe it, but I'm really.
It was the closest to like 1984 I've ever seen, and I'm like I'm like, everybody knows not to come. It's just us, like my grandfather's kids, his wife, and his grandkids. Like, can you just let us like be alone and like not bother us? But having like the police specifically come to make sure nobody else could come. I'm like, what point did we just get in a society to where you're not allowed to go to somebody's funeral? And even if like just to step, you know, maybe inside and say, you know, I pay my respects, and you're going to leave and still respect the social distance max stuff. It was that was the first time with like the pandemic that made me very angry. And so like looking at other things about it, I'm like, I get it. You need to take safety precautions, but at what point is too much? And
well, okay, so I don't know how much you want me to say on this channel because this was not the original point of this talk. But I could give you some data that shows that we're talking about a virus that has a death rate that's comparable to a seasonal flu.
Yeah.
And I don't want to screw up your channel, so I'm not going to.
Oh, don't worry.
Anything.
My channel is, I got backup channels, and I always unlist these streams and then re-upload it to my live channel.
Okay, I just don't want to be rude, because the thing is, there is an immense information suppression stuff. I did several videos about this. They're on my channel. They're defo not monetized. But if you want to know a little bit about the virus as a mechanism, how it works, how it relates to other viruses, I have several videos on it. It's basically a pretty typical flu virus in that it mostly affects people who are elderly. It doesn't really affect young people. It's also not really helped by wearing masks in the long run, but you can't say any of that stuff because there's some kind of thing going on.
Oh no, it's wrong thinking. You don't agree with them 100%, so they're going to silence you. Don't worry. I say this kind of stuff all the time.
I don't even disagree with them in terms of the science. I'm just citing. All I do is just cite science, and apparently that's wrong. That's the most disturbing thing, right? Is that when I do nothing but just be like, here's published science from biological and medical journals, and they say, nope, you can't say that on YouTube. That is something that everybody should be upset and concerned by. That I can't cite medical journals, modern medical journals, that were published like weeks ago. I'm not gonna. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. Just saying, a little bit disconcerting. Just a tiny bit disconcerting there.
I bet you YouTube censorship all the time. But remember, at one point, if you said that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe, you would be burned at the stake. You know, even
exactly,
with,
isn't it?
Even with research, it's one of those things that in 10 years from now, people are going to look back on this and say, oh, here's the matter of fact of what happened, and this is how people react to it. It's going to be a chapter in a history book, and it sucks having to live through it and have to just deal with it to the best that we can. But definitely there is a suppression in the things that we are allowed to say and the things that we aren't allowed to say.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Do you have it when your videos get either like censored or demonetized and you have to go appeal it?
Yeah.
How often do you actually pass that appeal?
So, okay, here's the interesting thing, right? Is that there will be some videos where I put them up, I leave them up for a day or 2 days to see if it passes green. It gets green, video all good to go. Then I go live with it, and immediately it goes yellow of limited ads. And I have no idea what the hell that's about. They won't tell me, because they'll always just say like, oh, some whatever. You know, it's some random thing that they make up. It hurts somebody's feelings. It's like, well, I left it up for 2 days so you could review it. And you said it was fine, and now suddenly, as soon as it goes live, you have an issue with this video. So I don't know what YouTube is in terms of its actual decision-making process. Let me guess. I'm on a blacklist of some sort, where it's like, now I don't get me wrong, my videos get monetized, okay? They do. But every once in a while, it'll be like a video goes green on my side, I go live with it, and it goes yellow immediately. So I don't know.
I've been experimenting with it a lot, and this is what I tell everyone to do, even if they're not. If you get demonetized or you have to go appeal it, what I say, and it works every single time, unless there's like a song or like there's some kind of like copyrighted image, that's the only time it doesn't work. Because, you know, that's obviously like, this is a copyrighted song, and I have those in clips, which that only happens for live streams because I don't use that stuff in my videos. And then I'm like, all right, yeah, I get it. Even though it is technically fair use, I get it, whatever. But so I always put, when I appeal it, I identify as a woman and I'm expressing my opinion, and it is within the laws of fair use. But I always start off with, I identify as a woman. Every time I've used that, it's immediately passed.
Oh, here's the thing. I know I could do that, but I feel like I would want to kill myself for doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just be like, oh.
No, I've told my like guy friends that have channels to do it, and they've done it, and it's worked. And so one of my,
awful, though.
It
hurts me. It hurts me really deep.
And that's the world that we live in. But I was told, or I did it because I was like, this is just bullshit. Like, I was just so frustrated. It was a video that like, I didn't even cuss in it, because I used to not cuss at all in my videos, because I was like, oh my God, will that get me struck? Or is that going to be something? Because I didn't know how YouTube worked. Yeah. And then I just got so F the world and just started like massively cussing in my videos. And it's funny because those videos usually don't get demonetized, where it's like every other word is the F word if I'm really pissed. And
really?
Those don't get demonetized. But then one of my videos, and I think it was like me talking about, I don't know, like Captain America in Infinity War or something, and that got demonetized. And that was the first time that I tried it, and it worked like instantaneously. And then my channel kind of blew up because I was doing like my opinions on like the stuff that was going on with Brie Larson and Captain Marvel. And it was good. And then all of a sudden, someone went back and demonetized all of my Brie Larson videos. So I went through on every single one, and I identify as a woman, da 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 da. And I used the same response for like 5 videos, instantly green. I didn't do it for, 5 other videos, and it stayed yellow until I changed it.
Well, I now know how I'm gonna fight yellows. Jeez. Unbelievable, because I mean, not unbelievable, actually completely believable. But no, what I've had a problem with YouTube for so long is just that they will just say, your video is terrorism.
What?
And it will just, trust me, it will just
your video is terrorism.
The most common report that I get on my videos is that they're terrorism, or that they support terrorism.
What?
Anyone right now can go to Aydin Paladin and see my videos and see how none of them support terrorism in any way. But that's what YouTube generally does, is that they just say your video is terrorism, it's hate, it's evil content, and you cannot. And when they say it's terrorism, by the way, you, I believe, cannot request review. So,
oh my God,
thanks guys on that one. Doesn't really matter, but I mean, because I still do get often many videos listed green, but basically, like, if they just don't like you on any degree, they'll just say terrorism. That's terrorism. Okay.
I feel like the way that YouTube does it is that they maybe have like someone for like a certain amount of people, and so they just, like, when videos get flagged, and so like this person is in charge of group A, which maybe include like 1,000 channels, and so they just see your name pop up so much, they immediately get that in that mindset that, oh, this person hasn't followed the rules before, so I'm automatically going to
I think that's part of it. I also, and I mean, like, I'm sure like you and Mulligan and a bunch of other people have to deal with this too, where you have a dedicated group of people that hate you and report every single one of your videos. It doesn't matter what your video is, they just report it, and they report it under the worst thing they can think of, right? Maybe it's not the most accurate, but they just report it as whatever the bad thing they can think of is. And I think that's where my channel's at with the terrorism reports, is that the people who hate me are just like, this is terrorism because I hate this opinion. I hate science and I don't like it. And it's like, okay, well, like, whatever, man. But I think it's the same thing as to why other people get put into yellow, because I truly believe, and I know this because I've had people on Twitter tell me, I spend all day, every day, reporting all of your videos to YouTube. I have had people tell me that on Twitter. And if they tell me that, I guarantee they tell that there are people who do that to you and Mauler and Rags and all kinds of other people, where their whole life is just reporting your videos. So,
oh yeah, there's people just exist. They just report every single tweet that I make.
Yeah, they report everything. They're so butt blasted that they really just want you to get banned, and they will do whatever they think is in their power. And if that's reporting your YouTube videos or reporting your Twitter or whatever it is, doesn't matter. That's what they're doing. And unfortunately, to some degree, it works. Sometimes.
Yeah. And it got to the point, at least for my channel, I would say I have more of a problem with it on Twitter than I do on YouTube, because one of the good things that when YouTube made that stupid change where it's like, oh, kids content, but that was because they were selling information to companies. Right. That's their own fault. So they tried to cover their ass with the whole, is this for children or not? And so because I marked
I get fucked YouTube on that. Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mark every single video as, no, this is not for kids, but it's not limited, so that kind of that does save my ass when I'm, doing my cussing and all of that, which I have toned it down because I did that really hardcore in the beginning because my channel has Star Wars.
Same.
It has Star Wars in it, so that, like, people have shown me screenshots where they're like, it's a channel that's marked for children, and so I have to put in the beginning, this content is not for children. And then I was also cussing a lot more because I was very angry because my little sister passed away.
Right.
Let me just this.
Oh geez, yeah.
I vent when I do my videos and stuff because it's my stream of consciousness. So, like, let me get it all out. And it was very therapeutic. And so now I've kind of toned it down because I've, more at peace. But I found that even when I'm like, hardcore going off in my videos, like they're green, but then videos from before that, they're yellow, and it's like not a single cuss word, not showing any imagery, just me standing and giving my opinion, gets marked as offensive and as harassment, even though I'm giving an opinion on a character from a comic book movie. How is that harassing?
The reality is your channel is flagged. Your channel is flagged, which means that unlike the rest of YouTube, by the way, let's be real about what this means. You can start a new YouTube channel and upload pictures of you or videos of you abusing animals and children. But until your video gets flagged, or until your channel gets flagged, you're not going to be put on YouTube's naughty list. So you could keep going around and posting videos of you abusing animals to the point where you would be eligible for YouTube monetization, which I think is 10,000 subs, something like that.
1,000 subs and 4,000.
1,000? Oh God, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So
did you watch the documentary Don't Fuck with Cats?
Right. Oh, geez.
Like that, people are on, and those people like that do stuff like that, they don't get flagged. YouTube doesn't deal with them. I remember the quartering was trying to show this person is hurting animals, and YouTube didn't do anything for weeks.
No, because they don't care. They want to deal with political dissidents and people that have bad opinions on media, right? Which is that's what they're mostly concerned about, because they're political at this point. YouTube has been very clear they're a political entity. They have specific political opinions, and that includes wanting to suppress the opinions of people who disagree with media stuff. Meanwhile, you can go upload videos of you killing cats, and that's fine, and you can try to get monetized off of that. We're really in a messed up situation in YouTube in terms of that. And I think that if people hadn't mass reported that, YouTube would have sent that motherfucker a 100K sub button if it just had been allowed to go on. Meanwhile, trying to suppress everybody for saying they don't like Star Wars, right? Modern Star Wars. Can't do that.
Or they don't agree with Brie Larson.
Or they don't like Brie Larson. Can't do that. But
it's a terrible world we live in now. And I realized, because I was not looking at the timer, but we have been going for 3 hours. I didn't specify how long this was. I need to get to Super Chats. If you need to go, that's totally fine. These shows we try to keep them at 2 hours. I apologize if you have
Oh no, it's fine. It is 1:30 in the morning here though, so I am gonna
go to sleep if you need to. It was lovely having you on though, and if you ever want to come back, I would love to have you back on.
Oh, thank you so much. This was a wonderful conversation. I probably am gonna head to bed only because it's 1:30 here, and I know you will do a wonderful job handling the super chat. That's probably, I don't have much to add. I'm sure I don't. Unless if anybody did have a super chat that was directed at me, DM me on Twitter, Aydin Paladin. I will answer it there. But for the time being, I'm old and a boomer. So if it's not a big, do you want me to stick by? Because I can.
No. If you need to go ahead and go. I actually have a scheduled stream in, I think it's either 6 or 7, so it's either in half an hour and an hour and a half. But so
okay,
if you need to go ahead and go, and I can hold down the fort. And I would love to have you on again in the future. It was fun talking to you, because I was saying before that I'd seen we'd done EFAP together, but I was
so many people on EFAP. It's hard to talk. But yeah, thanks for having me on. It was a really fun conversation. I know it went in a weird direction, but
it's all over the place. But I feel that's how conversations happen. It's let's talk about Star Trek, and then we
didn't talk barely about Star Trek at all. But, anytime, yeah, it's great to talk to you, and yeah, anytime you want to talk, have me on. I don't do live streams, but whatever. I'd love to have a conversation about Star Trek or whatever at some point. So thank you so much for inviting me on. Again, if anybody has a question for me, that is not answered, because I'm sure Anna can answer most questions on here. But if you have an additional question, just DM me on Twitter, and I'll try my best to answer it.
Oh shit! It is in 25 minutes. Okay.
Okay. So, all right.
Everyone, Aydin, tell everyone where they can find you.
All right. I'm Aydin Paladin, AYDIN, PALADIN, both on YouTube and on Twitter. Find me there if you like science content. I just report on data. That's all I do. I'm a big nerd. It's not fun. But thanks for having me on as always. And I'll talk to you later.
Yes. Have a good sleep.
Thanks. All right.
Thanks so much for coming on. It was lovely.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was lovely. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. It's just me. 25 minutes. Fuck. Okay. I was not looking at the time. Oh, hour and 25. Thank you, Drunk. Okay. So that means I have time to read these super chats. And like I said before, love Aydin, love her content. It was a lot of fun having her on. This, once I'm done reading these super chats, I will end the stream so that way I can go eat the foods and set up, because I'm going to some Halloween thing that I guess Peaches told me about weeks ago that I have no memory of, but whatever. We're going to do this Halloween thing because we have the Munchkin with us. And so we have to be done with our Star Trek stream by 9:50 at the latest. So let me read these super chats. And let's see. Watch, they're all going to be questions for Aydin. Watch. Okay, here we go. And I apologize for not getting to them sooner. It was my first time talking one-on-one with Aydin, and it was a fun conversation. So sorry I got distracted. But let's read these. Jeremiah Hassan, thank you for the super chat, came in late. It's been very eye-opening seeing the hate leveled at Gal. I hope she sticks with Cleopatra. Love you, rant, Anna. Oh, well, thank you. And yeah, I don't see any problem with her playing a character. Her, an actress, playing a character in a movie. That's called acting. Could you imagine if they did this type of critical thing on a person's ethnicity at high school plays? It's I'm sorry, you are not an actual New Yorker or Puerto Rican that moved to New York City, and so you cannot play Maria in West Side Story, or you're not Italian, so you can't play Tony. Could you imagine if they did that to kids in high school? No, nobody would ever do that. So the fact that they do this to professional actors that are acting and get hired for a job and getting paid to pretend to be someone, it's absolutely ridiculous. But thank you. I'm glad. And yeah, I'm completely fine with Gal Gadot playing Cleopatra. I think that's a very good casting choice. My mom is very excited about it. So all the people complaining, oh my God, the IQ level on people is just out of this world low. This is something that even Forrest Gump would look at people and be like, what is wrong with you? And that's kind of my leveling with things sometimes. It's when I look at it and I'm like, Forrest Gump could explain how stupid you're being right now. It blows my mind. Let me finish reading the next one. And Jeremiah, thank you for another super chat. Follow up, has Gal come out as a Zionist? # our Wonder Woman. To my knowledge, no. And as we learned in last week's Matriarchy, I did Jessi kind of explain more what a Zionist was to us, because again, it was a world that I'd never heard of that word before, and I was like, what is this? It's just, people blow my mind. They really do. Baltimore guy, thank you for the super chat. Am of Jewish heritage, mostly British, but American. Gal Gadot is Israeli Middle Eastern by GPS. Okay. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, this is the wrong stream I'm reading for. Oh my God. That was for the last Matriarchy. That was not me and Aydin. That was me and Jessi. Okay, so I found the ones from today's stream. Sorry about that, everyone. More bar 7170. Thank you for the super chat. Use two guys are making me lose my mind. I guess that makes me mindless too, huh? I don't know what that means, but thank you. Jeffrey Turner, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Anna. Hello, Aydin. Been subbed for a while. Well, thank you. And I think that was more so directed at Aydin, but I will pass that on to her. Mikey Gessler, thank you for super chat. The EFAP women have reunited. This is true. All we needed was Jay Longbone, and then it would have been the You Get to Look at Whammon EFAP stream. Wicked Still, thank you for the super chat. Hail, Anna. Love your BDSM orc today. Gorgeous. Thank you. It was not supposed to be BDSM, and people are taking it that way. The word today for Inktober was escape. And so my thought was, if you're a prisoner and you need to escape, and what is the best way to interpret that, and you're not using any kind of scenery, it's just the character. And so I drew an orc that was chained and gagged, and people took that as a sexual BDSM type of thing, not a character that needs to escape. So I'm glad that everyone liked it, even if the intended reaction was not what I intended. Thanks for the support, and I'm glad that you watched it. BMB Studios, thank you for super chat. My two favorite ladies, what's up, my Ewoks? Also, isn't it cool we keep killing our heroes to prop up new archetypes? Fun. Also, how Rags? I think Rags is doing well, and he probably would say hello if he was here. Let's see. She was not pretty sexual. There's nothing sexual about it. She had an angry face because she needs to escape. I'm actually glad I didn't do this, but I was going to put a hand on the other end of the chain, and I realized that would have been... I left it out because I was like, oh, that would make it, or people might see that as sexual, as compared to like she's looking off at somebody off the page, or like off of the camera in the scene, and like she's going to escape. And that was kind of the reason why her hands were in a certain way, is because she's about to like pull out the key and escape. But I don't think I accomplished that. I think people all just maybe it's just everyone has dirty minds. But yeah. It is what it is. I'm just glad people are watching it and people like it, so thank you. BMB Studios. Man, you're talking about Vic, who is very Christian, which the world is doing to Chris Pratt now. But thanks, Rooster Teeth, who I grew up with. I don't understand what everyone's obsession is. It's like, I have no idea what anyone's religion is that's in the chat, unless you specifically have it in your name. And it's like, I don't care what a person's religious beliefs are or what their political beliefs are. If they're not an asshole, that's what I measured on. If you're an asshole, again, it doesn't change what your political religious beliefs are. There's assholes in every freaking aspect of all of those things, and they come in all shapes and sizes and every color of the rainbow. If you're an asshole, I'm probably not going to like you. If you're a nice person, I probably will like you. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity or what your religious beliefs are. And Chris Pratt seems like a nice guy. And I don't know. I liked him as Andy in Parks and Rec. Thought he was funny. I thought he was funny even when he was fat. And now that he's like all like marveled out and yoked, I still think he's funny. But I personally thought his humor was better as Andy than as Star-Lord. But that was a different genre. Funny how that works, right? Russell Hall, thank you for super chat. If you played Final Fantasy and study mob psychology, look into the disturbing story of Final Fantasy House. It's both fascinating and a horrifying tale. I don't know if that was directed at me or Aydin, but I'm going to look into that anyway. So thank you for the super chat. Jandon Patterson, thank you for the super chat. Hello, everyone. Hello, Hail Queen Anna and special guest Aydin. Got late work. Was a biatch. No echoing here. Anna, you engaged. You can see ring indentation on your finger sometimes. I'm not engaged, and if I was, I would not hide it. I have not received any freaking diamond. Until I get my diamond, I am not engaged, and Peaches cannot claim as such. But yeah, I would never hide the fact that I'm engaged. I don't even hide the fact that I'm in a very serious relationship that I've been in for years and that I live I live with my boyfriend. I don't see why on earth would I pretend that I'm not engaged. If I got engaged, I would be like, look at this, everybody. And I'd be showing it off. There'd probably give me a whole video or a whole stream about it where I'm just like, look at this thing. I got it. It's like, it's my infinity stone, you know? I did used to wear a ring on my ring finger, and it was like a little gold heart, but that was because I really liked the ring, and my ring finger was the only one that it fit on, and ironically, it was one of those half rings because I have insanely small fingers, and so it was a size 3 ring because my ring finger is really, really little, and I really liked it, and I thought it was cute, and it didn't get in the way when I worked or painted, and it was really cheap, and that's why it broke, and so I don't wear it anymore. And sometimes I used to wear, I can't find it anymore, but I used to wear this really nice opal ring that I got, and it was real, so it was the most expensive piece of jewelry that I had, that I owned, and I can't find it, and I'm really sad about it. When we moved, I lost, actually, that was after I moved, so what happened? Oh, we renovated, that's what happened, and I can't find, like, some of my jewelry now, which makes me really sad, but, that's a very weird thing to say, and, if it's an indent on my finger, then maybe that's because it's ink or paint, but I don't know, that's a very weird super chat, not going to lie. Yeah. And if your engagement ring isn't Lord of the Rings thing, I actually said that to Peaches. I'm like, I want the ring that the hobbits threw into the mountain. I want you to go find that and get it to me. And he actually did last Christmas. It's not like an engagement ring, but it's I guess I can take a picture and send it to you or post it on Twitter or something. But it's the little it's the ring of power that has the words on it, except I told him, I was like, this is not acceptable, Peaches, because it shows the words. I have to, the real one, you throw it in the fire and the words appear. But yeah, that's a strange, you must be new to my channel if you think I would be the kind of person that would hide my relationship status, because I would not. And yeah, until Peaches proposes to me, I am not engaged. I have been proposed to before 3 times in past relationships, and I said no. So yeah, those relationships were not right. But if Peaches proposed to me, that would be a very different story. But I think he hasn't, because he knows that I don't really have any interest in ever getting married. That was never something that was a goal of mine. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's one of those cultural things where girls are, well, yeah, we always dream of our wedding day, and this is the kind of dress we're going to wear. And that was something that never interested me, just because I feel like all the people that were married that I grew up around, they weren't happy. And so marriage always seemed more of like a negative thing, or that people that were married weren't actually in love unless you saw it in a movie. And so I don't know, it just, the idea of marriage always had more of a negative connotation in my mind. And so it's never been something that I wanted. And so it's not a priority. Like I love Peaches. I live with Peaches. I've been living with Peaches for years, and, we planned out our future. But if we get married, I mean, that just, I don't know, that just seems like, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of money going for one day that, everything's going to go wrong anyway. So like what really is the point? And I feel like marriage kind of lost its importance that it used to have, because now marriages can end at any time. And if you get married, it's like this entire legal process as compared to if you're not married. And I don't know. It doesn't have that appeal to me that it has to other people that I know. So, I mean, I'm fine with never, ever getting married. I'm completely fine with that aspect of my life. I think right now, if I did, it would depend. I mean, me and Peaches would have to have a conversation about it. But as far as right now in my life, I feel like if I did, I would be doing it more for my parents' sake than my own sake. because I know that that would mean something like for my mom to see me get married and for like my dad and like my grandma. And so I feel like I wouldn't be doing it for myself. This is a very strange turn of events, but I don't know, that was just a very strange super chat. But yeah, if I got engaged, that's not something I would hide. If anything, I would be like, look at this, everyone. It's like getting a new puppy. It's like, look at this thing I got. And then I would be one of those people I'd be like, this is how he did it, and this is all romantical, and this is why my boyfriend is the bestest. But yeah, I don't know, that must be new here if you think I'd be the kind of person that would hide that. But thank you for the super chat. Anyway, Cecil, stay the fuck away from him. I will kill you. Wicked Seal, thank you for the super chat. This is amazing conversation. I absolutely love this content. Oh, well, thank you. And speak of the freaking devil, there's a super chat from Cecil. Great show, ladies. I'm one of the few people that has no online persona whatsoever. My avatar is literally me. Your avatar is skinnier than you in real life, though. BM Studios, thank you for 2 super chats in a row. Shout out to the Isle of Man flag. Oh, yes. Is there a difference between seeing a hero fall and let's see. I am unfamiliar with this word, so I'm going to look it up. What is this word? That's why it's not English, and I didn't think so. Pleasure derived by someone from another person's misfortune. Huh. I'm going to play this. Let's see if we can hear it.
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude. Yeah, I'm not German. I don't speak German. I know what Strasse means, but person derived by someone from another person's misfortune. Let me go back and read the super chat so I get the context. Is there a difference between seeing a hero fall and yes, I would say that there is always a difference, and it depends on each situation, because if you look at, you know, the fall of Anakin Skywalker to the dark side versus somebody, trying to think of a good analogy. Stop with the Peaceful stuff. Stop with the Peaceful stuff. We're not doing that today. No. No, Peaceful is not happening. Peaceful will never happen. It's actually kind of a relief that the Star Trek convention got canceled, because it's not happening. Stop trying to make Peaceful happen. It's not happening. Peaches is my boyfriend. It's not Cecil's. Keep him away. I opened that can of worms, and I regret it. So when Anakin turned to the dark side, he didn't seem particularly happy that, you know, he had to kill, or like that Mace died, or that he had to kill younglings. You can see the look in his eye. He's obviously not happy, but it's that necessity that he has to do this thing so that way he can achieve his goal, which is to save Padme, or to obtain the power to, you know, not to stop her from dying, so that way, you know, to keep people alive. And so he's not getting pleasure from other people's pain, if that makes sense. Whereas I think on some level Palpatine does. Like Palpatine, when in Return of the Jedi, when you have Luke and Vader and they're fighting, Palpatine is getting pleasure from watching Luke give into his anger and fight Vader. You know, he's sitting there smiling and laughing. So I would say there are different evils, and that's obviously a different type of evil, you know? Does that make sense? I hope that did. Let's read the next super chat. Where the hell's my damn super chat window? Did I close it? Oh, no. Oh, here we go. Maldus Alver, thank you for the super chat. Contagious madness has replaced common sense. Unfortunately, yes, that is very true. Madness Alver, thank you for another super chat. Can't stand it. Shocking that Kurtzman destroyed the Federation in Star Trek Discovery. To be honest, we should have expected it. I'm really glad I don't watch Discovery. Now I'm getting the hiccups. BM B Studios, thank you for the super chat. Operation Blade or Babel needs you both, mostly because we all know LOL that the next generation is the best, and oh my Star Trek. I would have to have a debate about that being the best, and that all just depends on a person's own, like, their own point of view and their own, like, what they get out of it. I wouldn't say it's the best. I think that there's definite qualities on it that make it, a lot of people's favorites, but there are good things and there are also bad things about it. And so comparing something like that, to the original series, that just depends on a person, because there's plenty of people that I know that, like, DS9 is their all-time favorite. And I think DS9 is kind of my least favorite, but that's just because you guys all know how I feel about Bajor and Bajorans. They pissed me off so much that I'm like, I'm not even sympathetic to you anymore. Frick the Cardassians. At least you know what you're getting when you're around a Cardassian. As long as you have your guard up and you know where all the exits are, you'll be okay to deal with them. But Bajorans, those fucking assholes. I know you guys were occupied. I know you guys were at war. You guys are such ungrateful assholes that I don't even feel sorry for you anymore. So yeah, Bajor, those fucking assholes killed it for me. Let's see. Runs with Phantom saying, if it's super chat, dang, this feels like an all-female Joe Rogan experience. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's a very nice compliment. I'm digging it. Breaking shits down with an expert. Smart talk. Hail fandom menace. Well, thank you. That's very nice. I very much enjoy Joe Rogan's little podcast show. Oh no, it refreshed and now I'm lost. Shit. Where was I? Oh, found it. Thane Cowdor, thank you for the super chat. Archer committed more genocide than Mir Archer. Did he? I'm trying to think. I literally just watched this. Well, I mean, they destroyed the spheres, but what? I would say the things that happened, a lot of the times it wasn't part of Archer's control. Like, it was either the Temporal Cold War, the Suliban, or the Zindi, and then Archer was reacting to certain things. And yeah, they definitely broke the Prime Directive a lot, but that's because it hadn't technically been created yet. I wouldn't say that he... Well, okay, the Mirror Archer, that was him trying to get into power, and I wouldn't say he committed genocide, but give me an example, because even though I just watched it, I'm straining my mind to remember an episode where he committed genocide. And aside from destroying the spheres, like, what are you talking about? Let's see. I don't know. Say something in the chat and I'll try to catch it, but I'm really blanking on when he committed genocide, because if anything, he's trying to stop genocide. If you're talking about, like, it happening while the show was going on, well, yeah, having the Zindi send the probe that cuts through freaking Florida and killing 7 million people, yeah, that's pretty horrific, but that wasn't Archer's fault. Let's continue on. Jeffrey Turner, thank you for the super chat. Nero captured by Klingons, 20 years deleted scenes. Nero captured by Klingons, 20 years. Let me see. I didn't care enough to watch the deleted scene, so let's go check. Here we go. If that's their excuse, that's very important information to have in your damn show. But then again, that still leaves him. He waited for 25 years. That's 5 fucking years where he could have gone to freaking Romulus and said, hey, this is what happened. Okay, I guess, let's see. One Trek Mind 27. Deleted scenes. Okay, let's see. Oh, Spock's birth. Oh, there's a little baby Spock, I guess. Okay, the Klingons capture Narada. Those few seconds of film relate the large issue of what the hell did Nero do for 20 years? That question is the biggest problem with Star Trek 2009. The scene and deleted scene number 5 are actually both connected this way. So I'll get, okay, so then that opens even more of a floodgate. If the Klingons got a hold of a Romulan ship from the fucking future with all of this technology, why didn't they take advantage of it like Klingons would do, and they would use it to, amplify their weapons to the farthest extent? They would use all of the information on the Romulans' database and their computers to take over the galaxy, especially Klingons during the Kirk time period. That makes it even worse in a sense, because if you have the Klingons and Romulans are enemies, you're telling me that the Klingons wouldn't take advantage of all of the information and technology that's on a Romulan ship from the fucking future and all of these future Romulans, and they wouldn't use that to their advantage to conquer Romulans and the Romulan Empire and to enslave everyone. Are you kidding me? This is so... What? It's one thing for if Nero is just a fucking idiot and all the Romulans on the ship, that's one thing. For the Klingon High Command to just throw this information to the side and not use it in any way possible, are you kidding me? Look at the shit that just Duras and his family did. Look at all of the shady shit that the freaking Klingons did and all that stuff with Worf and the Klingon High Command. So you're telling me that they had all of this information and technology and they did absolutely nothing with it. So now they just ruined the Klingons. Fuck this. This is even stupider. The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, thank you for super chat. I am not ashamed to say that Aydin is sometimes too much for me to keep up with. Keep up the great work, ladies. Oh, well, thank you. And I'm sure that she would be flattered by that. Mr. X, thank you for the super chat. Aydin, please push Anna to read/play Witcher. I am. I have the Blood of Elves, and I have been reading it. And I have The Witcher 3, and I have attempted to play it. I actually got the 3-pack on Steam, so I have The Witcher 1, 2, and 3, and so I kind of want to play it on order. Would you guys... Is that something you guys would want to watch me play? Because I don't know. I do need help. I'm one of those people that I would love to have backseat players, and I like that about Twitch, like on Streamlabs when I was setting up for my KOTOR, and it said allows backseat playing. I'm like, yes, please, I need all the help I can get. Chat, tell me how to play this game. So if you guys are interested in, I would love when I get back from my vacation, my birthday vacation, because guys, it's my birth month, for to play The Witcher 1, 2, and 3, and to have everyone help me play it. I would love that. If people are willing to help me play this game and to tell me exactly what to do so I don't die, and so it's not like KOTOR 2 where all of my characters just die. I would love that. That would be great. I very much appreciate the help. But yeah, so I have no problem reading or playing The Witcher. And again, I'm reading Blood of Elves right now. Let's see. Runs with Fandoms, thank you for the super chat. I don't want to live on this world anymore. I am right there with you. If Elon Musk ever goes to Mars, I volunteer. Peaches might be pissed off at me but I volunteer. But I would make him come with me, and he probably wouldn't, and that would be a big fight, and then I would end up not going until everyone died, because I know I'm cursed and I'm going to outlive everyone. So I'll go there, and like Elon Musk says, it would be cool to be born on Earth and die on Mars. I think that's my lot in life. I will do that. Let's see. Russell Hall, thank you for super chat. Oh my gosh, my voice is cracking. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. Russell Holding, Alexander was cousin Oliver of Star Trek. Maybe. James Bush, thank you for the super chat, even though you did not say anything. I appreciate it. Cecil, thank you for the super chat, you loser. Wesley sucks, Alexander sucks, Charlie X was the best Trek kid. He just wanted that sweet Ensign Rand ass. Bat Cash Grab campaign comes down in 10 days. Yes, it comes down on my birthday. October 31st, everyone. Cash Grab is going to end. Go back, Cash Grab. Go back, Cash Grab. Keep Cecil drunk. Dean Domino 25, thank you for super chat. Hail Anna, hey Aydin, love both your channels. Here's some dollary dues. Aydin, ever consider doing a video examining the persona series through psychology? Enjoyed the stream you did with Appabend. I will pass that on to her. I'm sure that she would she'll give you an answer if you DM her on Twitter, and I'm sure she would appreciate that you liked her stream. James Bush, thank you for super chat. I'm just participating in the chat. Oh, well, thank you for being here. I sincerely appreciate it. Charles 3, or Charles the Third, thank you for super chat. Do you really wear size 9.5 shoes, Anna? You're so small. No, I don't. I don't wear size 9.5 shoes. I usually wear 7.5 or 8s. But Nike's is weird, and it's the only time I've ever had to buy a 9.5 shoe. It's the most bizarre thing ever. Dean Domino, thank you for the super chat. I understand that pain, Anna. Someone who has frequented TV tropes seems like people use trope and cliche interchangeably, and it drives me crazy. Thank you. It's frustrating. Thank you for super chat. Russell Hall, thank you for the super chat. All the media shills I've heard dismissing Cutie's controversy took pains to stress that they hadn't seen it. I suspect it's because they know what it is and they want plausible deniability. I guarantee you the people that deny that they've seen it and they're so, objective to, oh, well, you're complaining about something. Oh, yeah, by the way, I haven't seen it, but all you guys complaining about it are like right-wing Trump supporters. And it's like, no, we're just people that have common sense and don't like the sexualization and exploitation of children. It's infuriating. Vetrus, thank you for the super chat. Strap on of Christ, and I think that was about Aydin's little story, which I came in for the very end of. James Bush, thank you for the super chat. Definitely not a boring podcast today. Hee hee. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you did not think it was boring. I found it incredibly delightful. Vetrus, thank you for the super chat. Galaxy Quest is a better Star Trek than the current Star Trek shows. It really is, and that's what I've heard about the Orville as well. J.K. Boysmith, thank you for the super chat. Anna, you need to make a Fleetwood Mac steak video. I do not like Fleetwood Mac, so I would rather not do that. Ruben Wilson, thank you for the super chat. R.A.P. Van Halen. Oh, I know. Why? Why'd you gotta do that to me? I know. I'm sad. It's getting to that point where I'm like, everything that I grew up with is gone, that I loved. It's dying. People are destroying it or it no longer exists. And now people that I grew up, listening to their music or watching their movies are dying. And it's like, oh my God, this sucks. It really sucks. And it's incredibly depressing. Thank you for the super chat. Russell Hall, thank you for the super chat. If you do play Witcher on YouTube, best not live. Yeah, there is some sexy time and violence in it. Maybe I can get... Is that something I can even play on Twitch? I don't know, because I kind of have like the Twitch channel set up because I know it's more for gaming, and I enjoy doing it through Streamlabs, and I like the little special effects that you can do on Twitch that you can't do on YouTube. So I don't know, but I am at the end of the super chats. So, and I have a stream with Drunk in less than an hour. So I might just say goodbye to all of you here. This will be uploaded to my second channel, which is That Star Wars Girl Live. Please go make sure that you are subscribed over there. I appreciate everyone watching and showing up today. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much. I will be back on my channel this week for another video, perhaps. I'm going out of town next week because it's my birthday. It's my birthday. I'm going to party like it's my birthday. Not really. I'm going to go to the Grand Canyon, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. The Munchkin doesn't know where we're going. I am going to be stopping by Vegas because I'm going to meet Tugs. And I think Jessi and Jeff are going to go as well. We're going to have like a little mini birthday dinner. And then gonna have a fun time doing outdoor activities because I like that kind of stuff. So I will be MIA for like a week, and I do get back unfortunately before my birthday, so it's like a birthday. It's a birthday trip, even though it's before my birthday, because the Munchkin has to get back to her mother. And so I think on my birthday, Cecil's probably going to have like a closing out stream for Cash Grab. I'll probably do like a birthday stream on Halloween. And yeah, so those are the plans. Thank you everyone so much for being here. It was a pleasure. And until next time, everyone, have a great day, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And may the force be with you, because we are really, really, really going to need it. See you later on Drunk 3PO's channel. Bye, everyone.
I'll tell you where I thought I came in the forest, when the lightsaber goes like this and flies off. I said, oh, what a great entrance. Ah! Ray caught it? She hasn't even been to Dagobah for training.